Hi. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to another episode of Heavy Metallurgy, and this is episode number 109. Alan, it's good to see you, my friend. How
Good
are
to
you?
see you too, Marty. I'm doing okay. Yeah, we've been kind of on opposite schedules for a bit here, so we're
Two
finally back
ships
on the.
passing in the night.
Yep. If you start singing "My Heart Will Go On," I'm so going over to Grown Man Record Club night for the evening, and you and our guests can have a fun time without me.
That's another shirt idea. You and me on the front of a boat, and I'm holding you up while you're going like this.
Well, it's better than one
fun.
of us posing nude while the other one's trying to draw us wearing a giant blue diamond or something. That would just that's crossing some lines.
Though that is also hot. I'm not going to say that was a bad idea. I think it's a pretty cool idea too, but you know.
It's been 88 episodes and I can still remember the smell of the paint.
It's not the only thing. Hey, okay. It's good to see everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Hello to everybody who's joining in.
As you can see along the little ticker tape thing on the bottom there, go over to our Instagram and join or follow or whatever they do over there on the Instagram, whatever the kids are doing. I try to get all the banners up and there's announcements and whatnot on there. So we're also on Twitch. If that means anything to you, I still don't see the significance, but we're on there. And Heavy Metallurgy shirts. I'm hoping like heck I can get Riddick on screen and printed next week for people to look at and hopefully move forward with. So some other shirt ideas coming too. There's the whole things. All these things are happening. It's cool. Very cool.
Yep. We've got another sketch that's been submitted for another top secret design. And Marty's brewing up something else as well. So save your lunch money, folks, because we're taking all of it apparently.
Yep. Because YouTube likes to mess around with our monetization because of bad words, even though we select 18 and older. So yeah, that's annoying. Anyway,
we're not family friendly enough just yet. No. So tonight's episode will only feature albums by boy bands and K-pop groups.
And gosh darn it, is the most
we also have to say makeup tips, because apparently that's always one of the number one trending things on YouTube. So yes, we're going to make up tips about record collecting, and we're going to make up tips about heavy metal shows and bands.
So Melanie, what would the tagline be on these songs? I could put the HM logo on part of it. I need to have some sort of a tagline.
There's not going to be a lot of room for a tagline.
Especially when only like 0.2% of our viewership is lady. So, I mean, I don't know.
I fail to see the significance of that statement. It's going to be one of those nights, folks, in case you haven't figured that out.
It's already silliness, yes.
Even the chat is already, ramping up the silly, but that is great. It's been kind of a long week for a lot of folks, and so some silly is probably what everyone could need. So Michaels gets it. Michaels, he's helping us galaxy brain this thing. Absolutely. Some more good tips like that, Michael, and by next week we'll have 56,000 subscribers, and I'll be crying in my beer listening to Chameleon. Nonstop live on stream.
Already, yeah, 10 beyond the 4,000 mark. It's already cruising
towards 990 to go.
That fateful day where Alan has to eat all the crow and all of his words and say that this isn't that bad.
That's not going to happen. I'm going to listen to it live on the stream as I promised, but we won't be saying that. We'll be saying many other things. That episode may not be family friendly. We'll have to see.
Well, we've got a gentleman waiting in the wings here so patiently. So we're going to bring him on. Everybody, you have seen him hopefully on YouTube. If not, his link to his channel is in the description. Life Eternal himself, Tony. What's going on, man?
What's up, everybody?
Long time coming on this one. He typically works Friday nights, and yeah, it's good to finally catch him on a night off. And thank you for joining us.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it was really good timing. But my work has a big event tomorrow, and I've been prepping most of the day and managed to escape for this.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's good timing.
So, how many years have you been doing Life Eternal at this point?
I think my first video was 2015.
Mm.
So, what is that? 8 years now?
Yep.
We're probably about the same time then. Was I doing it before you were?
If you weren't first, it was relatively congruent. Because it was like that same era of, like Count Blagareth being way up here and being like 15,000 ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
I think it was a pretty similar time frame.
Yep. So you've moved a couple times, gotten married. I mean, we've watched you grow over the years.
Yeah, yeah. Y'all watched me grow up on YouTube.
Watched you grow up on YouTube.
He's not a little girl anymore.
For all
Little
you
woman.
folks that like
I'm a
country
full-grown
music,
woman now.
he has got a solo well, not a solo project. You do some stuff with your wife as well under the Tony John name.
Yes.
And yep, we did not put a link to that in the description, but look up his Tony John on Bandcamp, I can assume.
Yeah, we're on Bandcamp and everything's on like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, all that stuff. It's Tony John.
And what can people expect?
So it's kind of classic 70s, 60s style country and folk mixed with, I have a little bit of like neo folk tinges just because of, the kind of music I like.
Mm-hmm.
The second half of my last record, I kind of split it in two half albums, two long EPs put together. The first half's like traditional stuff. The second one is kind of like a neo folk acoustic inspired folk black metal. I was thinking like there's folk black metal. Well, I wanted black and folk, and that was kind of what I was going for.
Right.
So it's weird acoustic guitars and panning harsh vocals way off in the distance in the background and stuff like that.
Nice. And you've also been involved in some metal stuff too. Is there anything still rolling, or is that all kind of done?
Yeah. So the band I was with, Apotheosis, we're on an indefinite hiatus. But I play the keyboards and the bass and do some of the vocals in a progressive death metal band called Triguna. I just kind of started up, and we're just getting back to the world after the end times.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that, and then I'm working on like a solo project pretty similar to that old band Apotheosis, kind of black thrash with some kind of old school death metal tinges, called Crypto Sapien.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm working on that too.
So now that you've got yourself settled in a new place, what's going on with the channel? What big plans? I've seen you started to do some streaming and stuff. You're starting to expand a little bit other than check out the stuff I bought. What's going on over there?
Yeah, so like I really would like to do more streaming with a lot of the YouTube guys here that I'm good friends with, Steve from S&T Young and Brian from Brian Arkham and Anthony and Cody from the Metal Miners channels, Rick, all these different people,
Yeah.
all these people that I exchange with Instagram all the time. And I also wanted to start doing some interviews live. Like I did an interview with the band Redenstal from Wisconsin, if you guys are familiar with them.
Mm-mm.
It's good black metal, kind of groovy black metal, thrashy-ish black metal from Green Bay. I exchanged stuff. We've sent packages back and forth. And I had the interview with a guy named Goatman from a band called Via Crucis. Just like friends, basically, that are just happen to be in bands at this point. And I want to expand further into other things. That's the goal, that, and just keep yammering on about the collection.
Right on.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
pretty much all the plans.
Well, another thing that worked out really good about tonight is I think I got a hold of Tony around Tuesday, or maybe it was Wednesday. I don't remember, saying, "Hey, you're free Friday," and he was. I'm like, because we've been speculating for a while now what to do. I think an Opeth deep dive was mentioned at one point. I'm thinking, homie, don't have time for that. Pick something that'll be quick and easy for us all. And what did you pick, Tony? What are we doing tonight? Explain it to the people.
Yeah, so I had the idea to do character-based album covers, meaning an album cover where the focal point is either a singular character or multiple characters doing something on the album cover, and the music matching to it, and then potentially nefarious activities of which they're up to on said album cover. I thought it'd be interesting, a really good way to get all three of us to show off our tastes and all the crazy stuff we listen to.
Yeah, it's a very cool topic. Fun one for sure, and it works nice because, yeah, like you said, it can go across lots of genres. This isn't something that is a black metal topic or a power metal topic. Turns out metal bands like to draw characters or take pictures of characters and slap them on covers.
Now, did you guys do any pictures? Because I chose not to do any pictures on my covers.
I'm trying to remember now. I think I mostly avoided them. I might have one or two somewhere, but I did kind of consciously avoid most of them.
Okay. I wasn't sure on what to make of that, so I decided to avoid it, considering how much I could have gone through anyway. So,
hold on one second. All right. I think I got it right then. I think I I think I followed the rules correctly. We'll see. But at this point, it doesn't matter because I have what I have. So
we'll roll with it either way. Don't worry.
we'll roll with it. Yeah, but it's cool. We can talk about the records, and it's a good variety of stuff here. And I'm sure we all have a good variety of stuff. And Ryan mentioned he was going to do something if he saw that damn Randy cover. So why don't you show him what you got on there, Alan, and we'll get
when it's my turn. When it's my turn, what Ryan won't have to wait long. I've already told him to start, making his choices. He knows what's coming. But
packing the things that need to be packed and grabbing the things to light it. Yep.
Preparation. So
preparation. Yes. Okay. Well, we'll start with you, Tony. We'll go one at a time. We'll go around in circles until the pile is gone. And yeah, what have you got? Where are we going here?
Deal. So I'm going to start off in kind of the power-ish metal side of my collection with the band Morgana Lefe from Sweden.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're really, really awesome. I kind of picked up some of this stuff on eBay, and I have a firm hunch that these are bootlegs because there's a black mark label on them, and I got them for cheap. But that doesn't change the fact that I actually have the tunes because these are kind of pricey. And this band, this is their 5th album. How do you pronounce this? Maleficium or something from 1996. They started off as the band just Lefe, put out one record, and then transitioned into Morgana Lefe. Not 100% sure why. I'm assuming it was something with the legality of the name Lefe. And this album cover here, am I backwards on the stream? No, I'm not. Perfect. I was really worried about that for a sec. I don't really know what's going on. This guy kind of looks like a statue because he's entirely the same color throughout his entire being. But it looks like he's kind of performing some kind of time-induced ritual, which kind of calls back to their previous couple of records. And there's like a lake of fire behind him. And the album itself is amazing. I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with this one, but it kind of reminds me of where Savatage was headed after maybe Gutter Ballet. Streets is a little bit different, a little bit more of that theatrical nature. This kind of feels like a little more 90s version of that Gutter Ballet era of Savatage, kind of like what I wish they would have went to, considering, I love what they did later on. Some of it's obviously better than others, but this album sounds like what they would have continued on if they wanted to keep getting heavier and heavier. It's really groovy. It's really melodic. They're starting to get into 7-8 minute songs. They got a little bit of that 90s groove to them, a little bit of kind of bounciness, which is usually an immediate deterrent for my fandom. But I think it fits really well because they keep their songwriting so incredibly interesting. And, if you make a 70-minute album and you keep my attention the whole time and I want to revisit, I think you've accomplished your goal at that point with that.
Fun fact, there's a gentleman in that band named Charles Ritkinen. Same last name as me.
I was looking on their metal archives before I went on this, and I saw that last name. I was like, that kind of looks like Marty's. But so that's how you say your last name, Ritkinen?
Yep. Well, it's got umlaut, so it's probably Ritkonen over there,
Okay.
But I don't know. We say it here Ritkinen. So
for sure.
That's why I shortened to Worm. People used to call me Marty Worm back in the zine days. So
for sure.
It's easier for people to say, but we're no relation. He must be Finnish, and you go look in the Helsinki phone book, and there's Ritkinen is like Smith here in the U.S., I think. So.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, cool first pick. Unexpected. I didn't expect to see that come across there, but it's very cool. I haven't thought about that band in a while.
Same here. I've had one or two other albums over the years, and yeah, you gave a good description of them. It is kind of like a sort of 90s-ish Savatage with a little groove mixed in. But yeah, very cool. Yeah, just one of those bands I kind of forget about sometimes. Like we were talking about before the stream started, you turn around and 4 years later you remember, I haven't even picked that up off the shelf, kind of thing.
Happens too often.
Okay, Alan, you are up, sir.
Okay, well, before I share a record, shout out this weekend, got to hang out with one of our regular viewers, Dave, over in Western North Carolina for a while, and he hooked me up with some cool beer from the microbrew he works at. So cheers, Dave. It's great to see you, spend some time with you. It's been too long. We'll try to get together again later this summer. And next, I wasn't going to do it, but sometimes you just got to give the people, what they want, and what better to start with for character-based things, then this absolute gem of a record right here.
Rodney Dangerfield, if he had a cabbage for a head.
Oh, I'm telling you guys, I tried eating this guy's hand, and you wouldn't believe it didn't settle me at all for days. One of the first things, of course, that popped to mind here. But rather than just look at it and laugh like we've done on past occasions, I thought this time, we should try to appreciate it a bit more, since we learned a lot from Mark Riddick when he was on a couple of months ago, and kind of looking at art and composition. Some things stand out to me now that we haven't really appreciated in the past. For example, there's the different shades of green that are used, which give the lettuce both texture and depth. So rather than looking like completely two-dimensional art, you can actually feel the depth of him coming out of the page at you.
I like the compositional lines of the unibrow. It points you down to the mouth, where you can see that he's been feasting upon said hand in his hands there.
Well, and it's actually compositionally very tight that way. Like Mark taught us to look for. If you look at the lightning bolts on either side of the Randy logo,
pointing down,
direct you back towards the face. The hand and the logo over here are also kind of completing that triangular form, but slightly asymmetrical, which is something Mark lauded as always a good idea. But yeah, it all again directs you back towards the face, which is the most human part and the part that the viewer is most likely to connect with on a subliminal or subconscious level. But then yes, there's, if you spend more time with it, if you just are drawn to the center, you just think, dude looks like a cabbage. But if you spend time and look around, yes, there's also a hand over here. And then you start to make the connection that this isn't any normal lettuce man. It's actually like a carnivorous lettuce man, which is ironic on multiple levels. So yes, you're rewarded for taking the time to examine the corners of the frame as well. And even the band name and logo, it makes you wonder, it opens up the mind. Is one of the guys in the band named Randy? If so, which one? Was he the main songwriter? Is that why the band was named after him? Did they lose a bet and have to name their band Randy because the other kids in the cooler band in town got more skateboarding tricks done and they were stuck with this? Or were they going for like an English kind of slang play? Because Randy can sort of mean person who's like lewd or kind of perverted, and so maybe they're going for that angle. And so it turns out that this isn't just and is the band like a bunch of pervs? Or is this guy not just a carnivorous cabbage, but is he like, a total sick porn addicted carnivorous cabbage? Maybe, he like, doing necrophilia things with the rest of the body that he's eating. He's, kind of a Randy cabbage, not just Randy the cabbage.
He's a cabbage.
So, yeah, there's a lot going on with this character. There's more here than just a green lettuce guy, eating a hand.
And I'm going to bet $1,000 that the cover is 10 times better than the music on it. That's just the way it goes with that.
You would think so. But actually, this is one, in all seriousness now, joking aside, this is one of the most spectacular European heavy metal singles of the 1980s. Both tracks, both sides are just chef's kiss good. I mean, top shelf. This band should have made albums, plural, good.
You're just saying that because you've invested in the shirt and the 7-inch. That's the only reason why you're saying that.
Absolutely not.
Justifying your purchases, Alan. I know this technique.
Absolutely not. If this sucked, I would gladly say it sucks, but it's still worth it for the picture sleeve. This is one of those rare cases where the picture sleeve, yes, makes you laugh, and the music is literally jaw-droppingly good. So you get to have something fun to look at. And yeah, that needle hits and you are blown away. If you like European heavy metal from the mid 80s, yes. There's even some stash action going on. Aaron, I know you're out there. I've seen you in the chat. You're having fun. These guys have exactly what you want. If Aaron doesn't have the picture of this tattooed somewhere on his body, I'm disappointed.
One of those dudes had to own a rusty IROC Z. Camaro IROC Z. Yeah.
100%.
If he doesn't, I would be disappointed. Again, they're European, so there's different cultures and different norms. But I mean, yeah, if this picture had been taken like somewhere in Southern California, at least one of these three guys would be on a pedo watch list.
That dude in the middle, looks like when I was a kid, the bus picked me up. There was like high school kids on the bus with me. There was a guy that looked just like that dude, except he was about 20 pounds heavier, and they called his nickname was Swig. I didn't know him as Gordon.
Talking about him.
Yeah, his name was. He looked
like
just like that dude. He was wearing the same
like
fucking jacket. It's crazy. It looks like Swig.
Yeah. At least one of these guys, there's probably like a picture of him, at the 7-Eleven saying, if this guy is seen in the parking lot, make sure he is not trying to buy beer for 13-year-old girls.
Yeah,
that's just the way it goes. But folks were asking for it in the chat. No reason to make them wait. Randy all the way. Very fun one to check out. I have milked that for every little bit of fun I can. So, Marty, what have you got for your first pick tonight?
Actually, since you mentioned Lee and Mark Riddick, Lee over at Heavy Art Talk, our buddy over there, he was on the show a couple weeks ago. He has a channel, Heavy Art Talk. He's doing a really great job over there interviewing metal artists. He just did a very long stream with Mark Riddick. It was awesome. I finished watching it today, as a matter of fact, and I just want to give it a shout out. Definitely go check out Heavy Art Talk. Lee is doing very good stuff over there for sure.
Yeah, that was a really, really fun episode. They both, it was great listening to both of them. Very, very interesting.
It was very cool. And they're both badass artists too, by the way. Holy crap-a-moly. It's amazing. But okay. For me, this is a record I've shown a bunch of times, but I just want people to get it and listen to it because this album, overlooked classic in German heavy metal, and I've always loved the cover. And Scanner Hyper Trace. I'm kind of confused why you can see the Earth and the I guess it does make sense, reflection of the Earth in the lens, but I don't know, that always confused me, but I guess I get it now looking at it again. But this is completely excellent concept, German power metal, very much aping the Halloween aesthetic. They really don't make no bones about it, and it's just so good. It's just so well written. They're definitely their best album. This is a Tribunal Dive Bomb Records reissue. It's got Galactose on it, which was initially only on the Doomsday News compilation. They took it off of this album, which was part of the concept, so I don't know why they did that, but God, check out this dude's hair, man. I just he doesn't have that hair anymore. He's probably bald as I am, but back then it was kind of like a hair helmet. So good. This guy looks like Justin Hawkins from The Darkness. I don't know. This guy looks like he's gonna beat all the asses. I don't know. I just always really liked this cover art. I thought it was very unique, very strong image, and you look at it and you're like, what the hell's going on here? And obviously it pertains to the concept of the record, which is very science fiction in theme. Very good stuff. Please check out this record if you have not heard it. It is amazing. If anybody has a cheap copy of an original vinyl you want to sell me, that would be pretty cool. Love you.
Out of all the time I've spent watching you guys, I've actually never listened to that Scanner
album. If you're holding up Morgana Lefe and saying it's really good, you've missed a very fatal step somewhere. You should check this out.
I definitely tripped on one of the stairs on that one.
You tripped over this one.
Yeah.
Here, here. If Simon says it rules and he hates his stuff, then it's got to rule.
Okay, I'll trust on it. I'll get it eventually. I'll probably just buy it because you guys have done so much vouching for it. It's not even funny.
We do.
I'm sure it's gonna be amazing.
We do that.
It's a fun album. Yeah, fun trivia fact on it that we've probably mentioned in the past. Well, Marty's right. It's a concept album, but the tracks are out of order on the album. Yep. So you can't listen to the album straight through and have the story make any sense. You have to kind of untangle it. I have the correct track order written down somewhere so that I can program the CD player to play it so that I get the story right.
Was that a label issue? Why did that happen?
Great question. It very much strikes me as noise being cheap and not paying attention to what the band asked for kind of issue.
And not caring what the band asked for, then come to find out.
Yeah. It's not that we didn't listen. It's just that we don't care.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Absolutely. All right. Tony, you are up.
We're back to me. Okay. So, Marty, when you originally called me that night and I brought up the cryptids and folklore idea, I showed you this CD and it made you laugh. I don't remember if you remember it, but this album, Welcome to Boggy Creek by Troglodyte.
Oh man,
Get a load of that.
That's that. I have nightmares about that when I was 6, 7 years old.
You should see the other one. Welcome or Don't Go in the Woods. There's multiple of them pulling people out of rooftops and stuff. But this one, this is nasty. This is like a gore, I don't know, like cornball 80s horror movie all mixed together. This is a great album. They kind of have this goofiness to them. I'm a big Signature guy, so I got the vocalist to sign it when I ordered this off their website. And this killer disc tray art, which matches really well. But this, I would love to see a movie that was winding up like this. I know there's that horror movie Sasquatch. Not a lot of Bigfoot scary movies, but this one is a killer new, kind of not really new school death metal, but kind of. The bass player of Origin is in this band, and I think he's one of the founding members. It's not so tech and kind of blasty and crazy as that, but it has a little bit more of that. I don't know. I would almost call it like that Razorback Records sound, where it's got a little bit of campiness to it, but it's fun camp. It's not annoying camp. But you hear some really funny songs on here. There's like a callback to Carcass, the song Symphonies of Sasquatch. There's a track called Mummified Yeti Hand, super catchy. Beaten and Eaten, Skunk Ape Rape, Hit by the Hendersons. Yeah. This is a great record. It's super brutal, and it's one of those newer old school death metal albums that is like really percussive, and they have almost like a hardcore beat down, but without being breakdowns. It's really fun. I would definitely check this guy out if none of you guys have heard it. If this album cover doesn't sell you, because that's what got me. I looked up Sasquatch themed metal bands. Got some Troglodyte.
and you found some hits. That's
you're dang right.
And there's more than one.
Nowadays there is.
There you go. Chromie sees your shirt. There you go. Show everybody the shirt. It's killer.
Oh yeah. Score at Metal Threat Fest.
That is a badass shirt. You should reprint those, Chromie. Those are awesome, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I'd buy it again. Just to fund that spaceship you're building in your garage.
Melanie, you know how this works. We throw you layups and you take you sink them. You sink them with your debit card. I won't tell the wife if you won't.
I'm sorry, Melanie. I didn't mean to do this to you.
What happens on Discogs stays on Discogs.
Exactly.
I won't tell. They might still have CDs on their website because they definitely have a couple of their albums on there still. I would check out Troglodyte. I think it's a big cartel.
Right on. Okay. Troglodyte. Good to see. I never would have heard of that. Well, I remember now that you show it. I remember talking about it.
Yeah.
All right. Alan, you are up.
I'm up. Okay. We've had some fun with Randy, so let's pick something a little more serious, kind of a classic one. We'll go with Celtic Frost's Emperor's Return. This one, there's really nothing on the cover but this group of characters.
It speaks to me.
It's an interesting group because you got this big snake demon with the ladies, and I think for at least most folks your first reaction is he must be the emperor, he must be the demon lord, prince, whatever, and this is his harem or whatever. But when you start looking closer, it's like I'm not so sure. And for example, this one in front, she's holding the chain leash that goes up and connects to him. So is he actually more like a pet? And maybe this is just some kind of group of post-apocalyptic trio in charge of things. I don't know.
He's a king.
In that case, the title makes less sense. It would be like Empress's Return, but I'm not sure. So yeah, not exactly sure what's going on here. Everybody looks like they're kind of just chilling here. Nothing too crazy going on yet.
I gotta say, Alan, the gal on the left, all I can see is this guy, this hair. Are you sure it's not him? They're both on the same label. Just saying.
Hey, they cut all kinds of corners for artwork and stuff. They may have maybe those aren't actually banned pictures of Scanner. Maybe it's all just figures cut from Celtic Frost. That's the kind of thing he would have done just to piss Tom Warrior off.
Yeah, and save money.
Hey Tom, we're recycling your artwork on Scanner albums. Who's Scanner? Ah, it's like Halloween, but science fiction. That's not artistic. Shut up and put your toque back on. But yeah, regardless, kind of a cool cover. Celtic Frost always had interesting covers of different types, but yeah, this is a cool one. And neat thing with this CD, this is an old noise pressing. It actually has Morbid Tales and Emperor's Return track list kind of squished together.
Logan says, I never noticed the leash.
you really
True.
don't at first. It's not something you focus on.
No, it isn't. You're looking at other things. Yeah.
But yeah, but it does change your perception of what might be happening in the thing. Without the leash, it very much looks like, he's like, yo, check out how I'm rolling tonight. And all of a sudden he's on the leash, he's like, he's rolling very different tonight. I'm not sure how, but it's not what we expected. But yeah, just kind of a cool old noise pressing CD I picked up years and years ago in a used record store in Texas. So interesting group. Not sure what's going on, but one of the classic album covers nonetheless.
All right, man. After all the covers y'all shown, this one is so lame. This is such a lame pick. It's so bad. And it's not even the original cover. The original cover's in color, but well, whatever. Arcanum, Fran Martyr. I took his literal. I said one dude or individual on the cover, and
most of mine have one. If it makes you feel better.
This is Swedish black metal by Shumati, who was once a drummer in the band Grotesque. It's really good woodsy black metal, influenced by Pan. I mean, not influenced, conceptually based around the Pan mythos, the demon in the woods type of thing, and sang in old Swedish. This is the debut album. I think this was recorded by Peter Tägtgren at Studio Abyss. I think the original cover, like I said, is in color. I have the original CD of it, but this is a picture disc as well. Anyway, yeah, the original cover isn't much better. This is just a crappy reproduction of it, blown up. Yeah, it's Arcanum, Wade. It's really good record. A lot of good atmosphere to it. I've always really liked this project, even the later years where it got a lot more punky and doomy punky at times. It's just a good project. And this is a favorite for sure. The first 3 albums are definitely worth checking out. This cover it says nothing other than you can tell it's going to be black metal.
It's a great record, though. That really needs a good CD repress.
Right on.
I was going to order that off of High Roller Records. I have a cart, like High Roller has an app you can do on your phone.
Really?
Yeah, they do. It's nice. Way easier than using like the regular browser. But I was going to order it, and then I was like, oh, $60 for shipping? Well, it looks like I'm not getting any of these albums right now.
Yeah, never try to order from High Roller direct in the U.S. It's the shipping kills you.
What's the best place to get High Roller stuff in the U.S.? I've never
talked to Jurgen.
One place, Tony, that usually gets a lot of their stuff in the U.S. is on Discogs. It's Heavy Metal Museum, or it may be slightly different. Maybe like the Real Heavy Metal Museum or something. But he stocks a ton of new, and it's all new stuff. And he does stock a lot of European labels and gets a lot of the High Roller stuff. I've bought from him a bunch of times. Nice guy. Everyone ships really fast. Prices are fair. You're getting brand new stuff that not a lot of folks distribute in the U.S.
Good to know.
They don't have an app though, so
they don't have an app. You got to go through the website. They're going to make it a little bit harder to feed that monkey on your back.
The monkey's always well fed.
Oh, I just want to say also, the Dismember box set dropped today and is already sold out. It's a 12 album box set. It was around $200 and some for it, and it's sold out.
12 albums.
Oh yeah, and it has some demo stuff and whatnot. Yeah, so TJ was going to buy a copy of it. He hemmed and hawed on it too long, and when he went to pull the trigger, it was gone from the band and from the Nuclear Blast. So you have to pay the long dollar and get them all individually. Did you get one, Mel? Anyway, Tony, you're back.
Oh, all right. I'm going to go the thrash route this time and talk about this absolute underappreciated classic, Deliverance, Weapons of Our Warfare, from 1989. This was their first album. So this is actually a Christian thrash metal band from kind of the early days. You know, I don't know too many of the Christian bands from the 80s.
Believers.
Seems like it's not.
Believer.
Are they? Yeah, they're from the 80s.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Well, this band has their guitar player used to be in Vengeance Rising, and their drummer, who's not on this album but later on, he used to be in Living Sacrifice. So I guess they're kind of an incestuous amount of bands over there. But this album cover is obviously this is the Apostle Paul, and then what I'm assuming to be his guardian angel battling demons while I'm assumingly writing scripture onto these scrolls. You don't see this kind of imagery in metal. Obviously, the the general attitude of metal isn't particularly welcoming to such things. So it's kind of cool to see something a little bit different. But music-wise, this band reminds me a lot of the kind of East Coast thrash from the late 80s. Your Nuclear Assaults and your Anthrax and things like that. I kind of always, when I first heard this, I was like, wow, this sounds like if State of Euphoria, Among the Living era Anthrax took themselves seriously. And that's kind of what I got out of this. And I'm not saying that about Anthrax. Those two are some of my favorite albums of all time. But that's just kind of, it has more of a bite to it, you know, but has that same kind of spirit, closer to the Nuclear Assault style. If you haven't heard this Deliverance record, it's amazing. It's super catchy. It's got mosh fodder riffs all over the place. It's so much fun.
Does it have the same kind of Holy Spirit?
I believe so. I'm assuming that's what they're going for.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Good
that's
pick.
a good one, Tony. They did their first few albums are pretty good. By the third or fourth one, they started to get a little bit lame. There's one called "What a Joke," and you can almost tell, like, the band isn't taking it seriously. Then it's like it's not. They're not just being funny. They literally are saying that this music isn't quite working now. But everything before that was pretty cool.
I haven't heard their second record, and I heard they got kind of industrial. Is that true?
I don't know. I think they drifted out of metal a bit after the "What a Joke" album. I didn't pay much attention to them, but yeah, there was a self-titled what's decent. The one you just showed is the best one that I'm familiar with. Yeah, and there's another one in there I can't think of the title of offhand.
A lot of those Christian bands would lose their way, though. They would struggle with staying true to metal and farting around and try different things. And
Deliverance
Sacrifice is another one. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Alan. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. But yeah, Deliverance is a good example of a very solid Christian thrash band.
Yeah, they're great. Really, really good.
All right. You're up.
All right. Next, let's do a little epic doom with Gates of Slumber. This is their second album, Suffer No Guilt. Badass cover painting. This is one of Ken Kelly's works. A lot of times Ken Kelly is associated with a little bit more of like a comic book, cartoony type style. Good, but again, you think of him with more like, maybe the Man-O-War kind of, cover art. This one, it has a little bit more of kind of a somber vibe about it. Really nicely done. I don't know if it's oil or what. I'm not an artist. If only we knew some artists who could comment and tell us such things. But yeah, it's a cool band from Indiana. Played, kind of, a powered out epic doom, very influenced by, Robert Howard, Conan type stuff, lots of Hyperborean and all that. One thing I really like about this figure here is that, the way it's drawn or painted or whatever, it has a real classical look to it. There's a particular Renaissance school.
Yeah.
And I forget the name of it, but where they do this, these very dark interplay between, very dark shadows and very bright, highlighted areas to really help emphasize the characters. And it always gives them this very kind of like classical look. So when you're looking at this, you really feel like, it's like, looking at some kind of, classic Greek or Roman statue or something. You're thinking like very epic, very, high-minded, very, kind of godlike. But when you stop and think about it, what's actually happening here, this is actually very brutal. This guy is, come out, to basically to decapitate this other, poor fuck down here. It's actually a very brutal and violent moment, but the way it's captured in the art makes it seem very dramatic, and it really gives it that kind of classical epic flair. So it's kind of interesting how the style of art gives it a very different feel than the action that's occurring. The The album title, Suffer No Guilt, it's what Conan's father's sword had engraved on the hilt, if I remember right. It's supposed to be a reminder not to dwell on the past too much, to instead kind of learn from your mistakes, but move forward and not get, bogged down by the missteps of your youth. This is a cool album. It's not their best album. It's got some good tracks on it. The band really came into their own on their third album, and that's when they hit their stride for me. But yeah, Gates of Slumber, good epic doom metal from the early and mid 2000s. They might be back together at this point. They had, lots of issues. One of the band members tragically has already passed away. So that was the end of the band for a period. But I seem to remember that they've the surviving members, I think it's Carl, has got the band, or a new version of the band, I should say, kind of working on material again. But yeah, I always liked this particular cover just because of the way Ken Kelly depicted, this very savage act that's occurring.
I really like that cover, but I think it would have been more brutal if the guy didn't have the axe. He was just like his fist. I think it'd been more savage if it was just because the axe almost looks small in his hand. His hand is so huge. It
does, yeah. I think that's another device that's just trying to play up that this isn't just normal Mortal Kombat. This is some kind of godlike figure. This is Thor. This is Mars. This other dude has no chance in this fight. That this when he literally towers above the other figure in not just the picture but even in proportions. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, the axe is the easy way. If you want the flawless victory, you just got to reach in there and yank his spine out with your hand. Not with an axe. We all know that.
It almost looks like he's going to bludgeon him with the wide end of the axe as opposed to the actual blade.
Yeah, because if he goes down with the blade, there's a chance he's going to hit his hand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, see, we're going to pick we've been watching Heavy Art Talk. Everybody, go check out Heavy Art Talk over on YouTube. We're gonna pick apart art on our own. Even though we have no talent. Other than Alan, he's made some puffy shirts. He's made some puffy shirts, everybody. So Alan has some talent. I forget.
Yeah, and remember, so the moral of the story is, folks, whenever you're decapitating, always cut away from your body, never towards your body, because slippage is a real bitch.
It is. And there's nothing more dangerous than a dull knife, because you're pulling extra hard to cut something. If it slips out, you're going to stab your. Anyway,
or if it's too sharp, it's going to go through too easy, and then nick your finger on because you're holding the scruff on the back of the neck and just went right through.
All the things you people learn from us every week. It's amazing. That's why you keep coming back, because you're learning with us. Oh man. Anyway,
over to you, Marty.
The next A I came across in my record pile is Essex, Misery Index. You've got the poor suffering guy on there. The wires and capitalism and whatever the heck is going on in the background here. This is another sadly overlooked band. This band is great. From Florida, crushing grindcore, well produced, heavy as hell. This looks like a crust album, and it's not really crusty grindcore. It's just really well produced and excellent grindcore. You can tell there's social political themes and whatnot going on just by the cover image alone. But these guys rule. If you've never heard Essex, you need to check them out. They're dead and gone. The opposite of a triumphant figure on that one. You are correct, Logan. This guy is in misery and enslaved, and it really is a perfect imagery for the album, though. On Sound Pollution, great. If you've never heard it, this is, I would say bands like Nazem kind of took the reins from, I would say a Suck would fit alongside bands like Nazem as far as like political savagery and really well, almost deathly grindcore. This is great stuff. Excellent. Have you guys heard this one?
I have not.
I don't think I've ever heard that particular album.
Yep, recorded at Morrisound by Scott Burns. I guess I did not know that.
I didn't know that.
Okay. You are back, Tony.
Here we are. Okay. You're going to hear me crunching for a second. I have them all in these poly sleeves when I get digipacks. So this one, I have no idea how to properly pronounce the band name, but it's Kivilgeist or something. Get a load of that. It's like some big red baby with a sword riding waves to
He's
like
got a
storm the
schwizzle
Taj
stick.
Mahal.
That's not a sword. That's a schwizzle stick. Look at the curve in the blade.
The big old wiggly worm he's carrying or something. But yeah, and then there's like some random horsemen on these waves coming to combat him. I have no clue what was going on in this album, but this is a great record, man. This is a Swiss band, and this is their one and only album from 2019. It's out on Vendetta Records. Yeah, Red Baby Tally Ho. That's great.
Twizzler attack.
But so this is like a really weird kind of melodic-ish black metal band. I kind of thought they were from Iceland up until like right before this video when I went and made sure I didn't sound like a moron saying random stuff. They kind of have
that every week. No big deal.
Yeah. Well, if you're familiar with like the Icelandic black metal scene, there's this weird like atonal dissonance while still maintaining like a musical key that they actually employ, like Svartadati and like the earlier kind of Solstafir material. It just sounds off, it sounds uncomfortable, but also keeping a really nice melody to it. And this one has all those elements with some of that kind of grimness and then some really random thrashy bits thrown in there. It's really, really fun. I feel like if you like your melodic Black Death and your kind of weird Icelandic black metal, you probably dig this, especially if you like Twizzler wielding Red Baby storming the Taj Mahal.
Fighting nothing. He's like shadow boxing. What is he attacking? A cloud?
He's attacking the darkness.
Yeah, it looks like he's coming after these cavalrymen that are riding these waves.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just see now. I see them now. Okay.
But then there's this random weird city that looks like the Taj Mahal, I think. But I don't know if that's anywhere near the ocean. I'm not exactly the greatest with geography.
How is that spelled?
It is KVELGEYST.
ST or P?
T, like T isn't Tim.
That's some national spelling bee level shit for you right there.
Use that in a sentence.
Exactly. The Red Baby wielding a Twizzler is on the you guys just have them covered.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
All right, Alan.
All right. Let's see. Next one. I got one I have to show on the phone tonight because I don't have a physical copy. And while I was pulling it up, Discogs has just alerted me. We have found one item from your saved searches. So, yeah, this little gem has just popped up for sale.
I thought you had that.
I have a CD bootleg reissue of it. I don't have it because of that. This same
that cost half my car.
This same seller has had this listed on Discogs forever on Discogs, and he's like, I think his starting price was either 5,000 or 10,000. So hey, he's actually put it on sale. If anybody, I tell you what, anybody wants to pick this up and send it my way, I will trade you the Randy jersey for it. And that hurts me to let this go, but this is the number one thing on my vinyl want list. So I'm willing to go Randy less shirt. If anybody wants to VCLT me here, just saying. Yeah.
I'll check next time I'm down in Grand Rapids. Maybe I'll get lucky there and find that as well.
If you do, we shall build many small temples in your name. Let's see. Only small temples, not a giant one, because those
giant ones would be a misrepresentation. Anyway,
you got to keep it in reality. Anyway, next one. This one, when Tony proposed, the really fun topic, and I was thinking about what to put on the thumbnail. This was the very first thing that came to mind. It was the very first thing that made it. Is this particular version of Eddie? This is obviously from the Somewhere in Time era. It's the art for the Stranger in a Strange Land 12-inch single. This is my favorite Eddie. Everyone has favorite Eddies, of course, and there are lots of great ones. This was always the one that I could just look at this picture for hours and hours and think about who this character is, what they are doing, what is happening that's brought him to this particular moment, and where it's going to go from here. I love the combination of the sort of Western look with, this futuristic cyborg stuff going on. Favorite Eddie, and Eddie, of course, being one of, really iconic cover characters. We're not focusing just on mascots tonight, but a few are going to come up, I'm sure. And so, yeah, absolutely had to include this one. There is nothing about this picture that I don't love. It's just absolutely perfect. It appeals to the heavy metal fan in me, the Iron Maiden fan in me, the sci-fi geek nerd in me, the 6-year-old kid who used to sit and watch cowboy movies every Saturday with his dad on a 16mm film projector at the local community college for fun. It pushes every single damn button in my subconscious. So absolutely had to show this one. I used to have this on vinyl. I got rid of a lot of my Maiden singles and stuff years ago to a collector who wanted them. So I don't really regret it, but yeah, at some point I probably need to pick this back up just for the cover and put it up on the wall because it is my favorite Eddie.
I used to have that poster as a teenager.
I've never had that one as a poster. I had it as a 12-inch. There's a picture disc of it. I don't think I had the picture disc of that one. I had a few Maiden picture discs, but don't think that was one of them. Anyway, one classic character, best art for that character for my 2 cents.
That one's
what
really,
are y'all's
really
favorite
cool
Eddies? Tony, what's your favorite Eddie, by the way? Or do you have a favorite? Putting you on the spot, I know.
I struggle with that one sometimes. I really like the Fear of the Dark Eddie, where he's like the almost ant-like but evil tree man.
That is a cool one. It's subtle, but well done. Yep.
Exactly. I like that one a lot. That one you just showed is really, really cool. I've seen it once or twice, but I haven't seen it enough to really solidify it in my ranking of Eddies. But it reminds me of if you're familiar with the Star Wars Clone Wars, the bounty hunter Cad Bane. I would bet $10 that Eddie was an inspiration for Cad Bane. Somebody's got to be into it somewhere.
It has a real bounty hunter kind of feel about the artwork. Definitely so.
Yeah. But yeah, probably the Fear of the Dark one, or maybe the Seventh Son one, where he's like half whatever swirly nonsense by his stomach.
Yep, that's a cool one. That was probably the first Eddie I ever saw back in middle school.
Yeah, it's cool for sure. I like the color scheme too, that light baby sky blue.
Yep, yeah, it's a weird choice for a metal cover, but it works so well. Yeah, chat's chiming in with their favorite, and this is the fun thing. Everybody's got a different favorite Eddie. There's so many good ones.
I gotta say, mine is Live After Death Eddie. That is such a killer cover. It's just the action, him coming out of the grave. It's so good.
Yes, as far as the full albums, I think that's my favorite too, Marty.
Yeah,
Larry, that's cool that you're going to get to see them for the first time. I've only seen them once, but yeah, they were really good. They if you don't know Larry, and I won't spoil it, they have really mixed up the set list on this current tour. They're playing a lot of tracks that they have not played in years. And all I will say is they are definitely representing the Somewhere in Time era. So, but I won't spoil anything in case you don't want to know.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to say what I saw, but no, we're good. I'll keep my mouth shut. I'll leave the surprise there.
Yeah, if Larry wants to know, he can look it up. If he doesn't want to know, I do not want to ruin it for him. Some folks want that live reaction experience. All right, Marty, what's your favorite? What you said your favorite Eddie was? Maybe Live After Death Eddie.
Yeah, that Live After Death Eddie. And there's been there's some singles like the Women in Uniform. I like that cover a lot. Just the picture of Margaret Thatcher with the machine gun, and
someone else picked that one. Yep, as one of their or the Eddie killing Margaret
Thatcher on the Sanctuary cover. Yeah.
Yep, that's a classic.
Is Sanctuary the all yellow one where it's like the shadow of an open door?
It's one of the two that has or there's 2 or 3 early ones that have a very yellow color scheme to them, and that's one of them. Yep.
I think what was it, Twilight Zone, where it's the lady putting on makeup and Eddie's in the mirror behind. Is that Twilight Zone?
I think so. I used to have that one, but I think that's the one that has her sitting and looking over her shoulder. See, it's not Phantom of the Opera. It always looked like it should have been Phantom of the Opera to me, but I don't think it was.
Yeah.
The chat, Frank or someone in the chat will correct us if we're getting that one screwed up here.
Okay. And and for people that have not seen Maiden, you might want to go see Maiden because Nico's in the 70s. I just seen some video with him talking about his new drum set, and he's looking old. Time's catching up with the classics. If you think I'll catch him next time, you might just want to go. They're already kind of talking about retirement a little bit. Just go see him. Go see him before you don't get the chance to, because they're awesome live. They really are. I've only seen them once, and they were amazing. Totally great. But all right,
gotta catch them live.
Oh, you better hurry up. because
Yeah, I guess
time is not on their side. Okay, this album is a terrible album cover.
Time is always on my side, Marty.
Mm.
Yeah. We're really representing the Somewhere in Time era tonight.
Oh yeah, I got you. And everybody, just so you know, that's Alan's favorite Eddie, but his least favorite Maiden album. One of his least favorite Maiden albums.
It's
Just
my
saying.
least favorite Bruce era Maiden album.
Right on.
Of the 80s original run Bruce era, I should say that. Yeah, it's my least favorite of the 80s. Yep.
Right
it
on.
just is. Something has to be at the bottom of the stack. That's the one for me.
That's true. That's true. All right. This is a dumb album cover, but it's kind of a fun thrash album. We've got Atrophy, Violent by Nature. God, this album cover is dumb. Just a bad airbrush, stupid cover. I could have picked either of their covers. The other one, Socialized Hate, has got like a jester like with nukes around him, and this is like the epitome of thrash metal cheese as far as album covers go. But it's a fun record. This doesn't have beer bong on it, does it? Nah, this is just second tier US thrash metal. They're good, they're aggressive, they're technical when they need to. Pitch, yelling, it's good stuff. Socialized Hate, if anybody has a copy of that, that'd be cool. I'd like to catch that on vinyl as well. So Randy's cousin.
Randy's baby brother. It actually reminds me just a little bit of something like one of the weird, not the Bounto, but one of the weird hell creatures from like the Bleach anime series with the white bony looking mask there.
Right. So really nothing to say about this. God, the cover is so cartoony. Look at the hands and the feet. Who did this? Am I gonna be able to read it? Oh my God, I can't see it. My eyes are not good. I don't know. Not a fan of the artwork, but I don't know if I've ever shown this on the channel before.
No, I haven't seen that in ages. That's perfect for tonight.
It's a good record. It's a good record in spite of the cover. Check it out.
I just picked up Socialized Hate on vinyl at my local shop.
Bastard. Is it a reissue?
Yeah, it's a reissue. But it's still pretty great. It's nice. Sounds really, really good. Those albums rip, dude. They're like Pharaoh.
They rip. They're good.
Yeah, they're so good.
You can kind of clump them in with early Sacred Reich. I mean, they're kind of the same kind of style. But
yeah, they had one of those too. Yeah, they had one of Sacred Reichs there too for like $20 a reissue, and
they can keep that.
Pick it up in time.
I love Ignorance. I think Ignorance is a great record. After that, they kind of.
Yeah, I haven't spent much time with them.
All right, you are back to Sir.
Sacred Reich. Hey, somebody had to be the opening act for every band that toured Arizona.
Right?
That's right. I'm feeling feisty tonight.
Oh yeah, it's the Randy shirt. It's got you in a good mood.
That and the giant beer.
So we're gonna go to Sweden here again. This is Overdrive. This is an amazing album. Swords and Axes. Check
and
out
bowling balls. Oh, it's an Earth.
Yeah, he's trying to bat 300 with this really scary looking Earth right there.
Why does the Earth have a face like going? Oh
no! Exactly. It's like this, like really. It kind of looks like Venom from Spider-Man face.
The Pacific Northwest is very concerned about what's happening, and rightfully so.
Exactly. But this is just sort of like Space Viking just absolutely slapping the crap out of the planet with that sword. And check out, this isn't the album cover, but look at their band photo. It's just gauntlets and belts.
Crotches and fists.
Yeah. There's the full thing, which makes it that much better because there's another Richard Simmons haircut like the guy from the other one. But this album cover is great. I picked this up. This is surprisingly an actual official copy. It's a reissue on Rock Treasures. And if you've heard this one, it's got a lot of that kind of accept-ish, maybe later New Wave of British heavy metal influence style, which, kind of 84 would be that time period of the later New Wave, depending on how strict you are with the timings. But it kind of sounds like that. It kind of gives me a little bit of that blitzkrieg-y flavor, a little bit hard-driven, and it's got a weird vocalist. I haven't particularly found a really good way to describe the vocalist of this band. It's kind of somewhere between like a yell and a really gruff pitch sing. I don't really know. Are you guys really familiar with this record?
Never heard it. Never even seen it.
No? Oh yeah. It's good
Oh
stuff.
yeah. It's an oldie but a goodie. Haven't heard it in
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
vocalist is hard to describe for me, but I just had to show this nonsense as an album cover.
Let me grab something real quick, Tony, that ties into that.
For sure. I'm in.
Why did they think they had to put a face on the earth? I mean, how stupid! What a stupid idea that was.
Yeah, it is very concerned. It's actually over Europe, right there. I could see Spain sticking out from next to his mouth.
Yeah, one of the guys from Overdrive, I forget which one. I'm sure it was. Jan Stark helped put this together years later. It's the Swedish hard rock and heavy metal encyclopedia. They did at least 2 volumes. This is volume 2. These were always a pain to find. There's not a ton in here. It's a really impressive looking book, but before anybody runs to eBay and tries to spend a fortune on it, they have a ton of bands listed, but there's really short bios. What it does tend to have is all the releases with catalog numbers and stuff like that, but you're not going to learn a ton about the bands themselves from this one. It's not like the Malcolm Macmillan New Wave of British Heavy Metal Encyclopedia. This one's a lot more just list oriented and a little short on info, but it's still kind of interesting. They obviously put a ton of work into it. My only real complaint was, it did include, a CD with tracks by a lot of the bands, which was a cool idea to sort of, feature and showcase some of them. Mm-hmm. I got to say, though, this CD has one of the worst fucking track lists you could possibly have put together. I don't know if there's a single song on it that I like. With so many classic Swedish metal bands, so many cool rarities you could have picked from. I mean, Jan probably has, really good contacts with, a lot of the guys from that scene. And you play the thing and it's just like, oh my God, what is this shit I'm listening to? Apologies to, any of the bands represented on there, but they did not pick your best songs or something. It was really a missed opportunity to showcase, some cool bands, because there's lots of great Swedish metal out there, of course. And somehow, how many tracks is on this thing? There are 14 tracks, and I'm pretty sure they swung and missed. Unlike the Space Viking, who's knocking it out of the park, these guys swung and missed about 13 times on this track list. I haven't played it in forever. Maybe it would click better now, but I remember getting this and playing it and just thinking, I will probably never take that out of this book again because it's rough. But cool book. If anybody stumbles across it, it was not in print very long. So if you find it cheap, it's worth picking up. Kind of a cool reference item.
I didn't even know that book existed. That would be great to have, because I've kind of been trying to dive into the 80s Swedish scene. Isn't Leviticus from Sweden as well?
There's a couple of Leviticus. I think one of them's Swedish.
Okay.
I'd have to double check though.
I can't think of the album title, or else I would mention it too.
Yeah, I don't have the volume 1 encyclopedia. I just have the volume 2. So there's at least one volume, maybe 2 that I do not have.
Okay.
Well, you're up, Alan.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, let's pick I have not shown this one maybe ever, but it's a classic. Iced Earth's Night of the Storm Rider. There's a few Iced Earth albums that focus on characters. This I always thought, was one of the coolest. We got another axe wielder. It seems to be a thing tonight. But cool cover. I liked the fact that they didn't put a lot of detailing in the background, that it's just this kind of, dark. It really, it plays on the title of the album nicely. It really is the night of this particular character. I like the way they depicted him too. The big heavy furs, the kind of weird mask. It plays into the whole barbarian archetype a bit, but it doesn't look too stereotypical. It's not just wearing the big horned helmet. This one has a very different appearance to it. Not carrying a sword or battle axe, but single bladed axe. Not riding just a wolf or something, but the horse and everything, and the way its feet are kind of blend into the ground, and looks very icy, very cold, which plays into the band name very nicely. So second album by the band, very good one. They had a new vocalist for this one who was a bit better than the vocalist on the debut. It's again a bit of a concept album. It tells a story. It's not necessarily a very detailed story, but it works. But a lot of cool tunes on it. Not one I've played very often over the years. It's kind of it's one of those albums that's gotten enough plays, so it doesn't need to come off the shelf very often. But absolutely killer artwork. They really nailed it on this one. Didn't get a lot of it. This is around the time I got into the band. They weren't getting a lot of attention. They were one of the only sort of U.S. traditional metal bands on Century Media around this time, and they were getting really overlooked because it was the height of death metal, the rise of black metal. Folks weren't looking for anything like Iced Earth at that point, but they were doing some great stuff at the time.
They were great band.
That's an awesome album cover. I've never seen that album cover before.
I think the reissues have a different album.
It's a different cover. They changed,
which is a real shame. Yeah. Now the first album originally came with 2 different versions of the cover art, depending on what territory you bought it in. Neither one is amazing, though. The second one is great. I like the cover art for Burnt Offerings. It's got the Dante's Inferno depiction. And then, of course, the fourth album, had the Spawn artwork, the tie-in with Todd McFarlane, and that's where things
show it again, Tony.
Balloon for them.
Yeah, that was the original cover. Yeah,
that's the
cover, right?
That's the original if you got it in North America or Europe, I think.
I have the tape of that.
Yeah, hold on a second. I'll grab the other one. The Asian version, I think, is a different cover.
I think that's actually a pretty cool album cover. I like that one quite a bit.
I like it.
But the music for me, when I first listened to that, it felt kind of flat. It took me a while to warm up to Iced Earth.
Steve will never do a U.S. tour because we're all old and have responsibilities, and it's very hard to get away from home.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I like the first album a lot too, but it also came with this cover art. This is the first album, and this is not like a later reissue. This is from let's see, what label is this on? This is a Japanese pressing. It looks like made into by Taiku Records. So this was the Japanese one. I don't have an OBI for it, but there's information on the back.
Interesting.
So little more dramatic than the other cover art. I don't know where I stumbled across this, but I found it somewhere. It was probably an eBay thing from like the late 90s or early 2000s, and found it and I like that album a lot. That's a cool cover. We're going to pick that up, and we'll just have 2 of them because I'm a frozen, sick little monkey. And I like early Iced Earth.
All right.
Marty, what's something that you like that shows a character on the cover?
This is kind of a fitting cover for this album. We have Cold World's Autumn.
Oh.
This is a German project, I believe. They're German?
Yep, they're German.
It's a one-man show. I think, again, I don't know for sure, but I think. And it's DSBM, depressive, suicidal black metal, but well-produced. It isn't the typical fuzzed-out, super shitty one guy in the bedroom with a bad broken drum machine. It is very well developed, a lot of layers. It is very depressive stuff. I really like this record. I've got their first 3. I have not followed them since. What I've heard sounds good. Every time I go to buy it, something else comes up, and then I say, I think I'm getting better, everybody. I say, do I really need that? How much am I going to listen to that? Because right now I am so far up power metal's ass, it is not even funny. So suicidal, depressive black metal right now is not something I should be listening to. But this is a really good record. Very nice art. There's like pictures and stuff. I'll take it out. It's in a booklet and stuff. I'm not getting that crazy. Anyway, this is a great record. If you're into DSBM, this is well produced, well written, and it gets the job done. Pretty melancholic, very good stuff. Tony.
That band's really, really good. You have you said you have the first 3. So are you a big fan of the first one, Melancholy 1 or whatever?
Yeah.
Apparently the dude was like 16 when that album came out, which is pretty impressive.
It's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Suicidal, depressive power metal.
I'm trying to imagine how that works.
DSPM. I couldn't make it. I couldn't slay the dragon.
We're all gonna die. My wings of fire got evaporated, and now we're falling to the earth.
My tights are too tight, and I got testicular cancer.
We're birthing genres here, boys.
We are. This is how things get done around here.
Virus, fly free, sick you will be. just spread across the globe.
Just
Help me
choose
out here,
not
Marty.
to vaccinate.
You'll puke and die. Never know why. I can go somewhere with this shit.
We've got
I'm
this.
getting there.
We need to start a band, Alan. You need to move the family north. We will make depressive power metal. Yep.
This shit is getting off the ground like a sexy condor.
It is.
Oh, I'm just waiting for that shirt.
Speaking of which, do you brew at the brewery you work for, Tony?
Yeah, I'm one of the 2 brewers at my brewery.
Nice.
We need to talk to you about a heavy metallurgy Sex Condor beer.
Sex Condor beer.
We need to talk about what we're expecting out of this. And,
Tony's tone of voice right now says, I'm interested, but I also like my job. Conflict.
Yeah, I think it would be pretty funny.
Rhapsody at Funeral. There we go, Alan. Rhapsody at Funeral.
Like on the Stradivarius album cover, they could still have the dolphin jumping through the hoop, but the dolphin would be floating upside down.
He's already cut up into mahi steaks.
Yeah.
He's like floating in a red. He's like floating in a red tie. There's like one of those plastic 6-pack rings stuck around his beak.
I'm getting the impression that Melanie really wants a heavy metallurgy thong. She wants a Sex Condor thong. Maybe we'll see what happens.
Well, there's the slogan for the thong. Anyway, we got that solved.
We got that figured out. Yeah. See, we're getting problems solved here tonight. This is a good thing.
Stuff done.
We're addressing issues tonight. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sex Condor brew. I think this could happen.
The Sex Condor brew
comes with a thong. Every pint comes with a thong. God, this is coming together.
You could use the thong and kind of weave it through like a 6-pack ring, so you can like hold it up by the thong. Carry it.
That's it. We just do big bottles so they fit in the two holes for your legs.
There you go.
We'll do half-gallon growlers in each one.
It's all about the packaging. It really is.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Thongs in Australia are what you call flip-flops. I would wear a metallurgy pair of thongs.
You crazy Australians and your vocabulary.
Sex Condor IPA at next year's Decibel Metal Beer Fest. I hate IPA, so Sex Condor cannot be an IPA.
Agreed.
It's got to be a brown, maybe something nutty.
Yeah.
It's got to have a nutty flavor to
it. Like a honey nut brown ale.
You only realized what you were saying halfway through the sentence.
I liked it. I went with it. I decided to keep going with it because it just seemed so right coming out of my mouth.
There's nowhere to put any punctuation in the middle of that sentence.
I had to keep going with it.
Back out.
Had to roll. Sometimes you just have to let those ideas go. Anyway, Tony, what do you got? What's next?
About?
Records, eventually. One of these years.
One of those things.
I do like the beer talk. I'm always about that, especially Sex Condor beer. So we're going back to the thrash camp, and this is Crucified Mortals from Cleveland.
Yep.
Featuring Craig Horville of Reaper Metal Productions, and he used to run that. What was the name of that channel he was running?
Hellcast.
Yeah, Hellcast. Yep, exactly. I used to listen to a lot of Hellcast, but this album is amazing. This is the first EP. They did one demo in 2001, and then this is the first EP from 2004. And it's really, really good kind of death thrash. Now, this might have too many characters to be properly considered for this, but I figured since I kind of came up with it, I could break my own rule.
I was going to say, I'm picking things with one dude on it, and you guys have got like an orgy. Alan picked a demon orgy. You've got like a whole brigade of horses killing like a whole platoon of dudes. I mean,
the message you sent me from Tony very clearly said character or characters.
Yes, I was specific on that.
We are within the letter of the law, sir.
I only read up to character and stopped reading because there was no pictures. And when there's no pictures, I just stopped reading.
Once I read 3 sentences and no pictures, I'm not interested anymore.
That apostrophe S at the end of character was just 3 characters too many for Marty's attention.
I didn't know what the apostrophe meant, so I stopped. I stopped with what I knew.
Parentheses, what are you guys? Bunch of Shakespeare's?
You try writing a fucking novella? Am I supposed to read this shit?
But this record, it kind of reminds me of like the really thrashy moments of like Rigor Mortis, and like the first couple Demolition Hammer records, and it is just riff-o-rama. There's not a lot of solos on it, but it's a really, really fun record. It kind of has that, kick in the teeth feel of like the Demolition Hammer, where you get like 44 caliber brain surgery and like Neanderthal. It's got that great attack to it. And it's not super techy, but the riffs are just catchy. You pick up a lot of Creator as well. So if you kind of mix those three bands together with some, especially the rigor mortis vocals, the kind of vocal, it fits really, really well on this one. And, I think Craig is like a teenager when this EP came out. So that makes it extra fun because he's got that, he's got that youth fueling him. He's hungry. I like it a lot. This is a really good record. It's a quick listen, like 20-something minutes.
Bali.
Great EP.
Awesome. All right, Alan.
All right. I said I had one with a picture in it. And
With
so
like 50 dudes on the cover? Cool.
Nope. Exactly one. Exactly one. But it's one of the real iconic covers, I think. This one's going outside metal a bit, more kind of a punk. It's Iggy and the Stooges, Raw Power.
Yeah. Raw Power.
Which, it has this very iconic picture of Iggy Pop as the only thing on the cover. But yeah, it's really cool picture. Really plays into the mystique of him. Iggy, of course, was mainly known as this really outrageous performer on stage. Anything went. Kind of thing, and yeah, just here, sweaty, he's in his prime, just kind of this very weird pose where it's you can interpret it as threatening or sensual or all kinds of things. But yeah, it's you see the album, you're just even if you don't like the music, you're kind of intrigued by who is this guy, who is this madman that's on the cover of it. Iggy, of course, got kind of his idea, his shtick from going to a Doors concert and seeing Jim Morrison, who had famously cultivated this whole interaction with the audience. He was very antagonistic of the audience. He was probably, of course, drunk off of his ass, yelling at them and stuff too. But it made a huge impression on Iggy. It's just like, I can't believe he's interacting with the crowd this way, and the crowd is eating it up, and he's one of the biggest rock stars on the planet. I know what I want to do when I grow up. Oh, wait, I am grown up. I better get started on this shit. And you kind of followed in the wake of that. But yeah, it's an incredible album. It really shows, what punk would become. And this is from, I believe, 73. So, I mean, it's several years before you really get into anything like, Ramones or Sex Pistols hitting their stride. Yeah, awesome album. Cool set of songs, but yeah, the cover, just that single depiction of Iggy performing live, absolute classic. Always like that cover.
Now he looks like a melted candle that I wish would put his shirt on.
He is very much one of those guys. You'd figure he's got to have a horseshoe shoved up his ass because there's no way that man should still be alive with all the stuff he has been through over the decades.
Speaking of the melted candle comment, you ever see that meme where his stomach and his face are
It's the same. No, it's super creepy. Super creepy.
It's so funny. It made me, I rolled over laughing when I first saw that.
All righty then. Well, I'm just gonna. This is obvious. This is an obvious pick, and this is like the triumvirate of cold, endlessly influential black metal. We've got Blaze of the Northern Sky, Under a Funeral Moon, Transylvanian Hunger. Really? I mean, could there have been a more perfect album cover for all three of these records? I mean, you look at them, you know exactly what you get with these things. And it's funny because, was it this one? They took a picture and then Xeroxed it and then sent the Xerox into the label, and the label's like, you want this piece of shit on the cover? Talk about, forward thinking. I mean, how iconic is that? It's just super iconic.
Yeah. It is the template for my God, 10,000 other black metal releases in the 30 years since.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
Sonically and visually.
yeah,
100%.
very much so. I mean, you think about so many people think like, oh, we're playing old school, black metal, but you listen to all that early Burzum, Mayhem, Darkthrone, they all had their own vibe and their own sound, but that's the look and sound everybody really goes for is the early Darkthrone. So which one's your favorite? If you show all three, you got to pick a favorite.
My favorite is Soulside Journey. But
that is none of the above, sir.
I would say A Blaze in the Northern Sky.
Blaze for the cover art or music or both?
Both. The music on this is really good. It has a little low end vibe to it. Where this was at one point my least favorite, but this grew on me the most of the three. I think I really like just the straightforward, the same drum beat on every song, just endless repetition, but it works so well. I don't know why does this record work? It makes no sense why this record works. Character, intent, don't know. Vocals, one thing is Culto's vocals. He was one of my favorite vocalists. I mean, he was just a scathing black metal icon vocally. They were never better than Soulside Journey, but they put out some really killer black metal records. They have, and now they're putting out garbage. God, sorry everybody. I know people love I just don't get it. It's so boring, and they sound like old farts. I mean, they are getting, like pot calling kettle black, but don't act like it. Anyway,
Tony, which is your favorite of those three?
Of those three, I would probably say Under a Funeral Moon.
Okay.
That album is so cold.
It's absolute iceberg.
There's no low end frequency at all on it. It's all it sounds like it was recorded on tinfoil. It's weird.
It's really weird, and it's so blistering. It's so uncomfortable. And every time I hear the song Under a Funeral Moon, I think of like the live Satyricon show from Wacken 04, where they bring Nocturnal Culto on stage.
Yeah.
And I just think of like, Nocturnal Culto walking out on stage and talking about this is Under a Funeral Moon. And I'm like, yes!
Yeah.
It gets me every time.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
Oh, yeah.
That one, my favorite Darkthrone album ever, though, is Panther Faust. But I know that was one of the options. But of those three, Under a Funeral Moon, for sure.
I got to say, one of my favorite later ones that no one seems to talk about is Hate Them. I think that's a great kind of return to black metal form. I'm like, this record rules. It's simple, but it's just nasty and hateful. Yes. And after that, they kind of went off the rails a little bit. I did like Sardonic Wrath, but I don't know. They lost me.
Was Hate Them before or after FOAD?
Before.
I think it was before, right?
Yeah, before. Several albums before, because after that came
Plague Wielder.
I think Plague Wielder was before. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me access the Oracle.
There's so many records, man. It's so hard to keep track of with her.
Yeah, I don't know the Darkthrone catalog well at all, so I cannot help here.
So yeah, it was Ravishing Grimness, Plague Wielder, Hate Them, Sardonic Wrath, and then The Cult is Alive. That's when they started to lose me.
I liked that album quite a bit. I have it up there, and I've listened to it a lot.
Little too. I mean, I like punk. I mean, which is weird that I would say that it's too punky because I do like punk, but they started to get a little, Graveyard Slut. It was funny and campy. I liked it better on the Too Old Too Cold EP. I don't know, man. They just lost me. And I like some of the crust punk albums too. FOAD, Sold My Soul to Manila Road, stuff like that was hilarious and very cool.
Oh, yeah. A lot of
I was raised on rock. But I mean, Culto stopped doing this killer black metal screams, started screaming like a drunk old guy at the bar. And it just sounds, just not great. It's just not great.
I mean, Fenris kind of did that a little bit on the Isengard album.
But I like that.
Kind of thing.
I kind of like that. And like the songs like that Valkyrie song on the Underground Resistance. Great song. It's not a Darkthrone song, but it's interesting character. I mean, it's them being kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of Culto's vocal chain. What were we going to say, Alan? We're cutting you off. So would you say?
Oh no, it's cool. The chat's picking a lot of variation among Darkthrone albums. Did y'all see the limited edition special version of A Blaze in the Northern Sky they released? I think it was at the beginning of this year. It's one of the craziest like special limited edition things I've come across in a long time. Somebody had it locally here that I saw a couple of weeks ago. I was just like, huh, that's a weird version. Never seen that. It came home, kind of looked up, to just find out a little more information about it. So yeah, it's Blazing in the Northern Sky box set, clear vinyl pressing. They made 666 copies. There is like a card insert included with it, autographed by Fenris and Colto. In the paper used for the cover of the album and for the autograph card was sourced from a book published in 1666, and it gets better. And then the ink used, it has like silver for kind of ink for like the logo and title and stuff on the cover. The silver ink was made from a mixture of like typical silver ink and powdered goat horn.
That is hilarious because it's all horseshit. It's all horseshit. There is no way that Peaceful Records is going to repurpose one of the best, most iconic Darkthrone records and only make 666 copies of them. Truth be told, there's probably 16,066 copies of them.
I don't know.
To be honest,
supposed to be limited, numbered, but yes, you get it. You get it on with paper made in the year 1666 and inked with material including powdered goat's horn. I laughed for 5 minutes after I read that description on Discord.
Is there anything special with the record? Is there anything special with the record, like additional tracks or
not a
demos or?
Nope. It is just a Blazing in the Northern Sky.
Marketing horseshit.
Same old album, all new goat horn.
Wow.
That there is a thing. It's one of those that's of course sold out and has now a couple of $100 if you want to purchase it on the secondhand market. But just that description I'm still a bit blown away by.
Yeah, I thought you were messing with us for a second, to be honest with you.
I am not messing. No, that is exactly how it is described on Discogs if you look it up.
Wow. That's something else, that's for sure.
Craziness. All right, I just went, so that means it's Tony's turn again.
All right, I'm bringing the full-on stupidity back to the album covers here. This is a Finnish death metal band called Vomitorition.
Look at that cover.
This, the melted marshmallow man getting caught in an alley. I have no idea what is supposed to be going on in this album cover.
Wow, that looks like an old Jail America album cover.
Yeah, I have no clue what that's supposed to be at all.
Yeah, that goes back to your Bigfoot metal from earlier, but now the Yeti's melting or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he finally got caught. He's in the city now. That's his problem. So this is their second EP from 1993.
When that artwork came across the band's desk to say, approve? Oh yes, we had a band meeting over this and we decided as a band that this is awesome. This is our album cover. Put that on a t-shirt and thongs.
More than one person had to sign off on this. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, this is a rough one. If you look at it closer, it kind of looks like he's crouching down and he has like a shirt that's melting off of him. I have no clue. But this is actually really, really good. It's very, very early 90s Finnish death metal. It's got a ton of like the doomy percussive moments that you would hear on your convulses and your pertinences and Ripikolu and things like that. But this one at the end has one random song that is like 25 seconds of grindcore, just out of nowhere. After this doomy death metal, 6 tracks, and it kind of throws you for a loop. And I'm not a huge grind guy, but I find it very entertaining for 20 seconds. So this album was one of the first bands that the current drummer of Nightwish and Winter Sun, I think he founded this band.
You're kidding me.
No, this is where he came from. So it's really good. It's corny and it's dumb, and it's like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man caught in the alley and melting. But it's a really, really fun record if you haven't heard it.
That's a thing. Nightwish. I wonder how they incorporate that into the Nightwish maybe a throwback track or something. Wish I had a cum goblin. Maybe there's it doesn't work as well as my earlier attempt, but I'll have to iron that one out.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. I would have left that one in the bin. So cheers to you for having the stones of picking it up.
I had to because it was so goofy.
Oh, it's so goofy.
Yeah, that's the kind of very much depends on the price in the bin. If it's cheap enough, you take your chance. If it's too expensive, then yes, then you gotta ask some serious questions.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if we're since we're in that department, I'll change what I was going to show to this one. I showed this one a long time ago, so longtime viewers may have seen this before. It's a really good album. German band, never did anything else to my knowledge. They're called Adrian, probably taken from the Running Wild song track, I would guess. They made an independent album, and this is your cover. The album is called One Step into the Uncertain, which is appropriate because I am very uncertain about what's happening here. We have
save us, Mark Riddick. Save us.
We have a giant spider. We have a very metal-looking dude with a very small gun, and we have a pile of cucumber slices.
Those are eggs.
Those are yes.
Those are eggs. Come on, Alan. Those are eggs.
Thank you, Professor. Yes, it is they are technically eggs, but let's face it, those are like the worst illustrated eggs in the history of ovarian reproduction. And there's no background at all. It's all just this, kind of bluish, misty stuff. So is the guy stumbling home from the bar and it's misty and he accidentally almost stepped on the spider's nest of eggs. And so Mama Spider's coming out of nowhere going totally Shelob on him. And so, he's whipped out his 3 millimeter to try to fend off, a tarantula that's the size of a Buick. That's all I got. That's the only possible explanation I can think of for what's happening here. It's a thing.
Save that for the next time we have Mark on.
Yes, Mark.
Save us, Mark Riddick.
We're doing expert level interpretation next time, son. And
I want a compositional breakdown of this 4-legged spider.
We want to know what's happening.
Is that silhouette in the background?
Okay, there's one leg I see there. There's 3 on one side and 2 on the other.
Yeah, some of the legs are a thing of the frost, but yeah, the tentacles around the mouth. So it may be 4 legs, but it's got at least 10 tentacles. So spider squid, something. Don't know. If you can get past the cover,
sure, the barbarian.
You also you got to run the full gauntlet to get to the music on this one because the band, you think. Yeah, okay, they had to get somebody's kid sister to do the artwork, but maybe there's some real chains and lever, spike bearing dudes on the in the band or something. Not exactly. These were the other new
same pants tonight. I'm glad I didn't. That'd have been embarrassing.
These were the other new kids on the block, the ones who didn't get signed to the major record label deal.
They didn't get the note that you're not supposed to smile in metal photos.
It is a rare example. Yeah, these guys, they're happy. Like, hey, this is cool. Our band's moving forward. It's okay.
Their grandma paid for that as their Easter gift or something.
Right.
But if you haven't been scared away yet, and if you're feeling strong and you take a chance, musically not bad. It's pretty solid mid-'80s German power metal. Side 2 in particular, the track Never Again is a real barn burner. That track alone is almost worth the price of admission. It's a little bit of a pricey album these days. South Africa is a pretty good track also. So yeah, there are a few true German metal gems on here. But yes, you do technically have to carry this up to the cashier and hand it to them and give them money for this particular piece of merchandise.
Best thing about that is the logo, and the logo has got no color scheme going with the rest of the cover, which is even more annoying.
Not a lick. Yep.
Not a lick.
But, yep. And this didn't, forget Noise Records. This didn't even make it onto Gamma Records or Scratch Records or any of those other labels. This is completely DIY here. but not a bad album, not bad, and it unfortunately does run a little bit these days. If you want to get the cucumber spider shootout, it's not that cheap, but cool. It is supposed to come with an insert. Now I do have, that is my one nit to pick here in terms of insert. Oh, look what we got here.
2 inserts. Oh.
Nope. So there is an insert that comes with it too. It had been stuck on that cover for quite a while. Adrian, the only reason this doesn't get shown more is because Randy exists.
So far, Tony's melting shmoo guy on the cover, and you're whatever the hell
Cucumber
that cover is.
fight.
Cucumber
spider gun
dude.
fight.
Yeah.
Is there potentially a bootleg South American CD of that I could purchase somewhere?
I'm sure there's a Russian bootleg, but the Russians have the bootleg companies have been shut down thanks to something going on over there.
That is it. Yes, you could hide anything under that because no one's going to pick this up and physically handle it.
No,
I'm pretty sure though, if they have to scan the price, it does go on your permanent record that you bought it. Again, sometimes you got to make the sacrifice though. It is a cool album. All right, Marty, what you got next?
All right, this is another Norwegian band. I'm keeping it in Norway. And I remember showing these on the show we had with Mark, and he actually kind of liked the charm of these covers. And this one I do like. Out of this one and the newest one are the best, but I always like the colored pencil attack of Death Hammer's covers. This guy here is kind of a mascot theme that runs on all of them. And earlier demo stuff, he's riding on a poorly drawn motorcycle, holding a flying V guitar. But if you've never heard this band before, they are quite ripping and awesome. They are like Destruction, but with a better guitar sound, sped up a little bit faster. Just super savage, great, old style German thrash, but with more modern recording techniques. This is a 2-piece, but live they have more members, obviously. But they do play live. They're great. These guys are awesome. Super. I've got all their records. Super savage, great thrash from Norway. In the old vein. This album cover I actually like. I like the color scheme. I like the drawing. There's some that are just pretty questionable. But yep. I guess there are some dudes impaled in the background. I guess I didn't notice that when I pulled this one out, but yeah, that's okay because everybody else is showing like 15 dudes on the cover, so that's fine. Old school black and thrash, exactly. Good stuff. All right. Here you go, Tony. Sorry, I'm distracted by the chat.
It's all good.
There's a lot of fun comments in the chat tonight, so I'm getting distracted as well.
I'll be right back, boys.
I'm on my phone. Oakley dog. So I'm gonna go with something a little different. We really haven't talked about much folk metal and melodic death metal. This is Volknot with Le Sacrifice d'Amir. This is a Quebec-based band. This is something I solely purchased off of the album cover and about 15 seconds off of YouTube. It's a really, really awesome. At least the artwork's really, really awesome. The music's pretty cool. It kind of has like a mid-paced, almost galloped melodic death metal sound. Like we were talking about backstage for a second about Amon Amarth. It kind of reminds me a lot of them, but more of the earlier era before they got commercially.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But with like some keyboards and a little bit of folk instrumentation in the background. Especially the vocal wise, it sounds a whole lot like Johann's vocals. And I don't know, man, this giant, I'm trying to figure out what that's supposed to be. I'm assuming this has something to do with like Norse sagas, because you could see these dudes like on cliffs.
Yeah.
They are kind of,
it definitely looks like one of the giants or something.
But if you look really close, he's got wings. So I have no clue what's going on, but it's super, super cool. And it's one of the first CDs I ever ordered off the internet. I think I picked this off like CDN Records from Canada. Oh, well, yeah, Ymir the Frost Giant. Brilliant. I would have never thought of that. I don't know much about that kind of stuff. But it's really, really cool. Looks really nice. And the album cover sold me on the album before I bought it. And then it just wound up kicking me in the teeth when it got in the door.
That's cool. I've seen that before, but yeah, I never had heard it. So that's interesting.
Yeah, they have a couple of records. The other one's not as particularly exciting. It's a guy, I think it's just like a bunch of helmets like walking into battle. You know, there's like that whole like giant scene of random folk metal bands that you could pick up for like $7 or $8 in random distros.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's kind of what I thought this was going to be, but it wound up being a little bit more melodic death metal.
Interesting. Cool.
All right. Alan, you are up. By the way, what did I miss? Show it again. I missed something.
Volknot from Quebec.
Okay.
Some folky melodic death metal.
Sweet. Cool cover.
Yeah, it's really cool.
All right.
Next up, another kind of classic Scorpions Blackout. This is, when they're really hitting their stride in the 80s. Everyone, of course, gushes about 70s era Scorpion, and that stuff is great. This is one of those rare bands that made the transition into the 80s, and if anything, they got bigger and more popular. Most bands, that didn't work well for. Led Zeppelin, dies at the very dawn of the 80s. Deep Purple was ancient history by the 80s. Black Sabbath, fell apart and had to be, sort of, revived, with a different lineup in the 80s. Scorpions, made some changes, but kept on trucking and, just got kind of, bigger and stronger. And, this is arguably their best album from that era. Other people are going to have their favorites, but really hard to go with hard to argue with Blackout. The cover is a weird one. It at least is thankfully not just, face palm sketchy bad. And Scorpions had a long history of horrible album covers, even by the standards of the 70s and 80s. This one's a little weird, but at least, you don't feel like you're going to be arrested for, child porn or something by owning it. It's very focused on, this one guy whose head is bandaged up, his eyes are, covered and messed up. His mouth is open. Is he screaming in pain? Is he screaming in anger? Is his scream what's shattering the glass? Or is he screaming because the glass has shattered and that's what's scared him? Or again, maybe he can't see anything, but he's heard the sound of the shattering glass and he's turning and reacting to the sound. Never really know what to make of a lot of Scorpions album covers, but you've got a killer track list. Blackout is of course great. Can't Live Without You is fine. No One Like You gets a lot of play on SM radio, but it's still a cool track. Now is one of their fastest songs, really good. Dynamite also falls in there. Arizona is more laid back but a fun one. Isn't
the Zoo on that too?
No, the Zoo's on Animal Magnetism before this one. This one closes out with China White and When the Smoke is Going Down, which is kind of a good ballady one. Scorpions were pretty good at doing the metal ballads without them being embarrassingly bad. During the 80s, you could listen to their ballads and still they were metal ballads, not just foo-foo crying your punch at your Sweet 16 because Bobby didn't show up and ask you to the dance kind of ballads. Figured you hear Scorpions get discussed a lot, but this era sometimes gets a little overlooked, a little forgotten, and it should not be because lots of cool stuff in those early and mid 80s Scorpions albums. What do y'all think? What's up with this guy? Do we have any other theories as to?
Isn't that the guitar player?
Is it? I do not know.
It looks like him. Looks like Rudolf Schenker. Is that his name?
It could be. I do not know.
I just wish I could grow that sick of a mustache.
It's an iconic cover. It's an iconic cover for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Definitely.
Maybe the chat knows something on it.
All right. Here we go. This album had a different cover, so I don't really know exactly if this is... Well, this is on Epic Records, but the debut Fifth Angel record. Always like this cover. The other one's got like a horse. Let me see here. It's like a Pegasus standing on top of a crappily drawn, airbrushed Pegasus on top of a temple of some sort. I like this one a sight bit better. I don't know. But these guys are, what are they? They are, this is Shrapnel oh, okay. It was originally on Shrapnel Records. So the Shrapnel Records pressing has the original cover, and this is in Concrete Epic Records. These guys were from Bellevue, Washington. Traditional heavy metal. Could sit alongside early Queensryche early on. It's a little more aggressive, maybe. I haven't spun this in a while. I picked this up the second to the last time I went down to Vertigo Records in Grand Rapids, used for $14. I was pretty psyched about that.
Nice.
Because it's a good record, good band. Have you heard these guys, Alan?
If so, I'm drawing a blank on them. I don't think I have.
Yeah. It's the only one I have ever heard. This has got the Fallout on it. It's a song I heard. Yep, in the Fallout. Being up here up in northern Michigan, I used to live in the woods with my folks, and I would turn on the radio and I would get, I think it was KLS from Chicago area, and they used to have a show on there called Z-Rock, and I heard this song in the Fallout, and I never heard who did it. I'm like, that's a killer song. I could kind of hear it through the static coming through. I'm like, that sounds killer. And it took years and years and years, and finally I used to have this on tape, put it on and heard that in the Fallout song. I'm like, holy shit, it's that song. You know, just one of those deals that back then you didn't have the internet, or that Shazam app or whatever. You play it and it'll like tell you what song it is. Not that I'm sure that it doesn't pick up much weird metal stuff, but these guys are really good. Traditional metal, excellent stuff. There's a bit of aggression there. Is it thrash? No, it's not thrash. It stays on the Queensryche side, early Queensryche, a little more underground than that. I dig it. Good stuff. Aggressive singer, but he's got a good falsetto. Excellent record. Cool artwork. I dig it. It's different. It's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard that band before. Sounds really cool. I like that cover a lot, though.
It's cool. All righty. Tony, you're back.
All right. Well, by the way, thanks again for like a year ago. I messaged you about Michigan stores, and you told me to go to Vertigo. Dude, that place is dangerous on your wallet.
It's sick, dude. It's sick. It's
so bad.
And Herm prices shit to move. He doesn't want to sit on the stock, so his prices are really reasonable. I mean, some of the new stuff, it's up there, but I've been to a lot of stores that are way worse priced.
Yeah.
There was a petition to get Marty to do the dab. What? Anyway, what were you gonna say?
I spent more than twice my budget when I went in there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that says something about a store.
It's a cool store. Yeah,
it really is.
And he's a nice guy.
I don't think I met him, but I would imagine, judging by his stock.
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to show something that I recently picked up. It's a really random, obscure tape single I found in one of what used to be my local shops before I moved. It's a band called Salem, and their single's called Hard to Be Holy. I'm not usually a single collector or anything. Yeah, I'm bringing all the corn and cheese.
Is that the same guy that did the Shmoo cover? The Melted Shmoo? Or the Atrophy cover? It looks like the same artist.
It's the same level of cartoonish nonsense. But
sorry, Alan.
Yeah, we have another really awkwardly disproportionate album cover. Brian's been to a record store with me. He knows I'm terrible with my money. But so look at the knees on this witch. They are like at her forehead. She has legs that have to be 2/3 of her body length. And then they're on top of the earth again and in space with some torches. It's a very odd album cover. It's really just discombobulated, I guess. But the main thing I was trying to figure with showing this is if anybody has any information with this album. I have no clue what's up with this. The only thing I can tell is it came out on Which Way Productions, like WITCH Way Productions, in 1987. And I looked inside, and there's a little note scribbled with a pencil, and it's really
if found, please return to Jimmy Smith.
Yeah. So whoever wrote this, it says, Kelly, great to see you again. Love, something B. I don't know. I think it's Bob Friend, the drummer. And I tried looking up these guys' names on the Metal Archives, couldn't find anything. So if anybody has any information on this wonderfully album-covered single, Hard to Be Holy, definitely let me know. It's a really good kind of speedy, early U.S. power metal, corny, traditional metal album. It's really, really, really fun. Hard to Be Holy is a good song. And then the B-side has Savage Retreat. And it's kind of, your big open note heavy metal song, the dun, 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 kind of deal, with the vocals being the focal point. But Hard to Be Holy is a really ripping song with
Hard to Be
good
Holy.
melodies. Yeah, it's
Kinda
good.
cool.
It's a good little thing. I spent $10 for no real reason other than the fact I was incredibly interested. So it was really, really good.
How much did you buy for the Shmoo cover? The Nightwish guy.
I think that's another boot off of eBay, so probably like $7 or $8.
That's right. That's fine.
Yeah, but I would have easily spent up to $15 for that if I saw it in a while.
Awesome. All right, Alan.
All right. Well, let's keep working through some classics here. Another kind of iconic cover that I don't really quite know what the heck to make out of, but Blue Oyster Cultosaurus. The paleontologist in me likes what's happening here, but then you look at it and it's just not anatomically correct. So, it looks like a mouth or a skull, but these aren't teeth. I mean, the top and bottoms are connected. You can't actually open or close the mouth. Funny cave formation that looks like a mouth. I don't know. It's Blue Oyster Cult. Everyone always likes, to go very deep on all these, hidden images and messages and meanings and interpretation of the Blue Oyster Cult. I do wonder if half of it wasn't just them jerking everybody around with let's do something really weird, and people will obsess over it for 20 years trying to figure out what the fuck we mean when it means nothing whatsoever. I don't know, but I like Laps's comment there.
It's one of those circus peanut candies you put in the microwave.
That's what killed the dinosaurs. There was a rare plant that turned into gum when dinosaurs ate it.
Yeah, they couldn't chew that stuff. They swallowed the gum and it stayed in their stomach for like 7 years and couldn't digest, and they eventually couldn't pass it. So don't know. Yeah, it's always one of those covers that even people that don't know a lot about the band, they'll stop and notice it just because it is so unusual looking. Not my favorite Blue Oyster Cult album, to be honest. I know for a lot of folks, this one ranks quite highly. It was it was a bit of a bounce back for the band after a couple of albums that were a little more lackluster. I just can't get into this one. I've tried a few times, and yes, I know that some of the lyrics and stuff were written by Moorcock. That's fine. That doesn't mean it's a good song. I just don't like. It's great that it's about Elric or whatever. There's a million songs about Elric and Moorcock and all that stuff at this point. Stormbringer, we can do an entire episode about songs inspired by, the Elric series. Doesn't mean I want to hear this one. They're the one big exception before, Craig has an aneurysm out there if he's watching. Lips in the Hills. Yeah, that's a pretty cool track. That one smokes pretty good. But yeah, there's just not a lot on here. Unknown Tongue, the closer, is kind of good. It's a little creepy, got a weird vibe to it. But most of this I can do without. The follow-up Fire of Unknown Origin is so much stronger for me personally. And even some of the later mid-80s, later 80s albums have a lot of fun songs. But I can't get into Cultosaurus. Maybe it'll happen one day. I know Aaron, if he's still watching, famously was not into this album for a very long time. And then one day the clouds parted and it clicked and he digs it now. So maybe I'm still just standing under a cloud and I have to wait my turn for the sun to shine on through.
And then Aaron says, what the fuck does Alan know about fossils anyway? Can you imagine growing up through school with a name like Moorcock, but at least his first name wasn't Gimme? Anyway.
Yeah, you got bullied pretty hard for that one.
Oh my God. That'd be a tough name to navigate through high school.
Yeah, it's worse than a boy named Sue kind of thing.
Yep. All right. This one, in my teenage years, I listened to the crap out of. I love this record. I love the one that came out before it. This is their last truly great record. I like the one that came after it, but it was an acquired taste. That would be Hallows Eve, Death and Insanity.
Ah, cool pick.
A Flicker in the Flame, Death and Insanity. Are you truly sane? Yeah, you got the crazy guy with the King Diamond top hat holding a dead rat. That's pretty crazy. Stacey Anderson. I mean, every song on here is about death. The concept for this record is death and insanity. And they say death a bunch in every single song. If you did a shot, by the time you got to the instrumental, the fourth song, you're drunk. It's campy, it's silly, but it's hard hitting. It's well done. It's a good record. Where are these guys from? Georgia. Yep, they actually put their
Atlanta band.
Yep, they put their PO box on the. I thought it was pretty cool. You can actually write to the band directly. I might have done that. I don't think I heard anything back from them. There was a spell where I was writing to a lot of these bands looking for free shit, and I'd get the occasional sticker and thanks for writing to us, form letter type thing. But yeah, this was a great record. The one after it, Monument, was another one I could have picked with the lady photo shoot.
Yep.
80s whatever look, and that album ended up really kind of growing on me. There's some good songs on it, but
there are. Yep.
This is a great one. Is it as good as the first one? Oh no, it's not, but it's really good. It's solid record. Check out Hallow's Eve, Death and Insanity. Good shit.
Speaking of that style. Oh yeah, 100%. Speaking of that style, do you guys like that band Phantom Lord? I know there's a couple Phantom Lords, but it's like I haven't heard them. California.
Is it just has like the name is like takes up the entire cover, Phantom Lord?
Yes.
I've heard it, but it's been ages. I honestly don't remember much about it.
Okay. One of my local shops has the LP reissue for like $20, and I was thinking of picking it up, but I wasn't sure if I should grab it or not.
Aaron, do you know that Phantom Lord album? That Aaron might be able to give you some insights on it. Yeah, I know exactly the one you're talking about, Tony, but I can't even venture an impression of it. It's been so long.
Aaron says the EP is really good.
Okay, for sure.
If you're talking about Phantom Lord, Aaron, I don't know for sure. Not as good as Devil Child, but very good.
Okay, for sure. I'll probably grab that next time I'm over there then.
All right. Tony, you're back.
All right.
I'll be back in a second, guys. I got a pet that's needs attention, apparently.
Right on.
All right, so I'm going to go over to Finland. We got a band that is now absolutely horrendous. Not to be all negative, but this is Lost Society. So they got kind of labeled with that pizza thrash tag.
It's not a pizza thrash cover.
No, but they sure are eating tons of pizza on the back of the band photo.
Okay.
So they shot themselves in the foot with that one. Yeah, it's all pizza and beer. But this is amazing, dude. These guys are just riff masters.
What are they called?
Lost Society.
Okay.
So their first two albums are really impressively technical, thrashy, speedy stuff. It's a pretty obvious influence of Megadeth, but it has that quirky Finnish thrash sound, like Stone has, and what's the other band? Statue. There's this you just know like how the Finnish melodicism is. There's just something different.
Yeah, it's a little off. It's death metal as well, and even their black metal's a little off.
Exactly. It's just they have a little bit of that Finnish touch with having these really super fast, techy speed metal riffs, and it's catchy. It's really fun. They have 1 million live videos on YouTube, and that was one of the big things that sold me on them. They just look like they're enjoying themselves so much. It's just super, super fun. One of my favorite riffs ever is in the song Brutal Awakening. It transitions to the second half of the song. Tons of like crazy, fast ripping whammy bar solos.
Huh.
And obviously we're here for the album cover. There's this dude at like the bottom of a roller coaster getting attacked by...
I did not realize that was a roller coaster. Now that you got a little closer, I'm like, holy crap, that's a cheesy cover.
Oh, it's it's Korn with a big old helping of Velveeta on top of it.
Yeah.
But it's a really, really fun album, and I don't know, there's just something that caught my eye pretty quick about it. The attention to detail, like their little red guy mascot that they have on the hat, and then their band sigil on the back patch, and then like 6405 has like a significance to this band. I don't know, maybe it's like an area code, which is whatever. It's a really nice attention to detail for the band, but this band isn't dark sounding, you know, like this album cover looks kind of spooky and dark. It's not dark. It's just really fun, riffy, groovy, catchy thrash. It's a good record. This band's awful now, like so bad it's deplorable.
So they had one moment of greatness and they squandered it.
The first two, the third one's okay, but after that they turned into like a, you know, like a discount nuclear blast metalcore band.
Ah, okay.
It's a sad trajectory, but Lost Society's great.
Everybody's saying that Aaron and now Thrasher B Thrash said Phantom Lord were a fake band. Is it fake band like that band Exorcist, which the dude from the death metal band that the dude from Virgin Steel did? Wasn't that a fake band too? Wasn't Pile Driver was a fake band too? Yep.
Yeah, I think Phantom Lord was another one of those like Joe Hasselvander or maybe the dude from David DeFay kind of side projects type things. Yeah. I don't remember the details on that particular one, but I'm sure Aaron and folks can fill in with the details.
So most of the bands on Pentagram were fake.
What is the connotation of a fake band? What does that consist of? Like a false backstory for a project, or like what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Anybody in the chat, what does fake band mean?
I think with those bands, the idea was it was just, you know, it was guys from other bands that just, they recorded something, but under the premises of being a real new up and coming band. But it really was just like, you know, a kind of, you know, one-off side studio project. It wasn't ever meant to be a touring act. There were no plans for it to, you know, be a real entity. They just kind of was like, hey, we can make a few extra bucks if we, you know, slap a different name and a different cover on this project and kind of mix and match members a little bit. There's another one of those that is really famous that I am blanking on the name of. It was funny because it's one that they tried to be like very overtly satanic on. And a lot of people ended up taking it very seriously, thinking, oh yeah, they're like, you know, well, it's like an American band doing like, you know, Brazilian, you know, satanic thrash or something. And it was all this like, dudes, we're not serious, not at all. But they developed a real following because of it.
Pentagram was fake bands made up of people around Pentagram, but not Bobby. There was a similar ecosystem around Virgin Steel in Canada. There you go.
This is an interesting phenomenon.
Like Brujeria, their whole shtick was fake. They weren't Mexican drug lords. They were mostly, it was Dino from Fear Factory and a bunch of dudes from the UK.
Okay.
Yep.
Carcass and Napalm Death and
yeah. But yeah, a lot of those bands like Aaron's referencing, they really were just, you know, go in the studio, you know, record an album, make an album real cheap, sell it, you know, and just, you know, make some cash. Pile Driver was kind of the same way. That one famously, the guy who owned the label, was it Viper or a different one? It was literally just like, I could, you know, put, you know, some outrageous character on a metal album cover, and with the right song titles and the right name and the right cover, I can sell a bunch of copies of it. It doesn't matter what the fuck it sounds like. It can just be completely made up bullshit. And basically someone kind of, you know, called him out on it. He's like, okay, let's get this guy who I kind of know from working on another project. We're going to put you on the cover with this ridiculous outfit. We're going to have the craziest song titles, sex with Satan and all this shit. And he was kind of right. You know, by the end of the year, European magazines were listing that first Pile Driver album as like, you know, album of the year contender and stuff.
Well, it's still the music's still written, whether, you know, whatever. It's not like they did it AI. There were people playing that shit.
Yep, there were.
That's what happened.
Yeah, you know, it's just it was never meant to be, you know, it was not a touring concern. There was never supposed to be any follow-up to it whatsoever. It was just, you know, it was kind of, you know, a quick cash grab, you know, get a little attention, you know, generate a little hype, old school style in the zines, and see if we can make a quick buck.
So does that make the first Bloodbath a fake band? Because it was like a one-off drunken project that they did one night randomly.
No, that was a side. I think it's different between side project and, you know, of course it could be the same fucking. It's the same premise, isn't it? But
yeah,
Bloodbath turned into a real band.
Yeah.
Whereas bands like, you know, the Exorcist band, that wasn't ever a live band.
Yeah, Tony, some of it might depend on how it's presented originally. Like, you know, if Bloodbath was just, it was really sold as like, you know, hey, we're getting, you know, these guys together and doing our own project for fun, that's okay. I think the idea with, you know, the Pile Driver, the kind of things where it really was just like, there is no band. it's this one guy we're hiring to write a few songs, and just a few studio musicians we're hiring to, just play this. We'll record it real quick and just, then go the fuck away.
Okay.
I think that would be the distinction. That some of these like Phantom Lord, it's two guys making up a name and recording some shit real quick, not with the intention of, but passing it off as, oh yeah, check out this new extreme band in the underground everybody's talking about, when it's never meant to go in that direction. Damn, I wish I could remember the name of that other one that got so popular over time, but I can see the album cover, but I cannot. It came on red vinyl. There was a red vinyl pressing of it. It's the only thing I can remember right now. Yeah, maybe it'll come to me later.
All right, you're up, Alan.
I'm gonna quote Marty and run to the little boys real quick.
Yeah.
No problem. Yep. Let's see. Let's go with an easy one here. We've touched, actually haven't touched on too many of the big mascots, and that's quite okay. It's more fun to hit some of the, how many times are you going to see some of these other characters? But one mascot I thought did deserve a shout out here definitely would be Vic on Peace Cells. This one's interesting because, there's only the one character really, there. But he's very off-center in the picture, so that your eyes.
Are you peeing, Tony?
Like an ever-flowing stream. You did say there was a dismember box.
From dream to dream, we have always been like an ever-flowing stream.
That dismember box set dried up real fast today, didn't it?
It sure did. Oh, that was a first. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
It's all good. But yeah, this one always interests me because, your eye is always drawn way over here, because, this is taking up so much real estate, you might say.
Sorry.
Onto the side of it. But,
13 years old again.
But yeah, Vic is, very much, meant to be, the central character. He's really the only character. You've got, yes, it's, the bombed out, UN, kind of, the interesting, concept. One of the big mascots for metal albums, always, evolved, looked a bit different from album to album. But yeah, I always liked this one. The color scheme is cool. But yeah, it's just this, it's so weird having him. He's not up front and center in the album. They really want you to pay attention to what's happening behind him and not be completely focused on him. Whereas, some of the other covers, obviously, like, So Far So Good and stuff, the character's right there in the middle. Everything else is kind of, off to the side. But so yeah, another one of the classic mascots I always liked, and figured this was a good representation just because of it's kind of odd in its composition just a little bit.
We totally heard you pee.
I could hear you guys. I have a headphone and I'm like, oh man. Oh, I'm such an idiot. I should have clicked off.
And then it was like quiet for a second. You hear dribble, dribble, dribble.
Oh man, I'm glad I can make history. Sorry.
Yeah, this is. Yep, not getting monetized for sure.
It was an accident, I promise. I closed the door.
As long as you didn't have an accident, that's what's important.
Very much so.
I love the ever-flowing stream comments.
All right. Well, this combo
audience. Yes.
What's that? What'd you say?
Filmed live before a studio audience.
Yes.
Oh wow! That would be such a thing that happens to me, dude. Every time.
Oh boy. Well, this combo I've shown, Alan's shown, and whether it was intentional or not, it's a continuation. There's a story to be told here. We've got these two iconic covers. We've got the second Merciful Fate album and arguably the third Merciful Fate record. Right here. And is Satan here warning her, or is he commanding her, telling her to go out and do something, or is he beckoning her into the fire? Obviously she's already in the flames. I don't know, but both of these albums have very iconic covers. These are my two favorites from both projects because they're both Merciful Fate records. Yeah, I have a license to fart now. Yeah. I was waiting for that to come because there's no way after drinking some you can pee without farting. It's just impossible. Anyway, that would have been like the signature on the end of the letter. But iconic covers, both of these. This isn't the world's best cover, but I like it. I really like it. I can't imagine this record without this cover. I look at this cover and I want to listen to it. The best thing about this is King's contorted hand in this picture. It's such a great picture of him. I don't know. Evil. Shit was so evil, man. This was the times when this shit was satanic and scary and you believe Satan was real. But yep, iconic covers, singular person on the cover, but the two put together, there's a story here. It's up for interpretation. And bravo.
I totaled my dad's truck listening to Fatal Portrait.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, when I was 17.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so I have trouble listening to that record, minus the fact that it's so amazing.
Right.
It's a scary memory.
Brings it all back.
It really does.
All right, Tony.
All right, so since I was graced to be on heavy metallurgy, I had to bring in some epic metal for this one. This is a Canadian band that I've grown to be particularly fond of over the past, I don't know, since this album came out, I believe. I can't get it out of the jewel case because I'm having struggles, but this is East of Sun by Gatekeeper.
Huh.
Not sure.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
This is a really, really awesome album. I ordered this one and their first EP off of Bandcamp, and it took forever to get here. But this is a really interesting cover to look at because when you first glance, you just see this dude walking up this path. But you get up there, and there's this like goblin-looking guy, like wielding lightning out of the sky, and then back
cool.
here, yeah, right here is like a disembodied spirit face at the end of this trail that goes behind them in the clouds, and it's like a giant root system into the clouds. It's very interesting to look at. But yeah, they kind of have that late 80s American power metal sound to them, maybe a little bit more towards the traditional metal than the power metal sound. And they have 2 bonus tracks, which normally I'm one of those people that complains about bonus tracks, which they get the pass hard on this one for me because they're 2 covers. Great, put them at the end of your record if you're going to do it, as far as I'm concerned. They do Death Rider by Omen. And
Death Rider.
Exactly. And
Maybe
Haul the
the
Mountain King by
other
Sabotage.
stone.
Yeah,
Nice.
they do that in Haul the Mountain King, man. And they nail both of those songs. They don't do the whole overture into Haul the Mountain King, but as soon as you hear the riff comes in, I'm just over the moon every time. It's a great way to put a cherry on top of this really nice, epic-ish, speedy kind of traditional metal record from Canada. They put out a new one this year too, which is really, really good. It's a little weirder, but this is a great record.
Talking about the Bridge of Death and Monty Python. Red, I mean blue. Y'all in the chat, you guys rule. Thank you so much. And ladies, it's all good to see all of you folks in here. Thank you for hanging out with us every Friday. It's so cool.
Indeed. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good pick, Tony. I really, really want to get into Gatekeeper, but they're so hard to get into, and I hear they're very elitist and exclusionary.
Are they? I haven't heard about any of that stuff. I don't know. But, I could kind of see that. The CDs are a pain to get a hold of. It took me like a month and a half to get it here from Bandcamp. The guy didn't send it out for weeks. So maybe he was like checking me on Facebook, being like, is this loser worthy of my CDs?
Yeah. I figure they're just, real gatekeepers about everything.
Oh, dude, you got it right over my head.
And
Right
what
over my
all
head.
that set up for that.
Wow.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Oh, you bamboozled me, Alan.
Just wait for it. It's going to happen. We'll get there.
Just got to nurture those setups. All right, Alan.
That was a good one. That was a full trap.
You've activated my trap card, sir. All right, let's do another vinyl one. I have shown this in the past a couple of times, so some folks have probably seen it, but perfect fodder for tonight. Random independently pressed U.S. metal LP from the backwoods of Kentucky. yes, the heavy metal metropolis of the world. The band is called Crowhaven. The album is called Emotional Adjustment. This is from '86. And it has this badass wizard artwork on the cover. Proportions may be slightly
The wizard
off here
has
and
no
there.
need for an axe. And by the way, this is your third axe of the night, Alan. Cheers to you, sir.
Hey, you know, what can I say? You guys asked for it. We're
That
on
joke
fire tonight.
activated.
Oh man, he's on fire.
You know, again, this was always, you know, kind of reportedly pressed in about only 300 copies, no label, just, you know, band DIY kind of gig. But you know, it's really, you know, it's one of those pieces of cover art that if you see it, you're going to stop and, you know, check this out. Be like, wonder what's up with this album. You know, it's just it pushes the right buttons to get, you know, the heavy metal fans interested. Wizard, you know, nicely drawn, big axe. It's like, okay, that is this kind of, you know, just got a medieval thing, epic metal. It could be, you know, the name Crowhaven is interesting. There's weird warning signs on the album though too. I mean, this isn't so much a logo as just, you know, the name penciled in on the bottom of somebody's trapper keeper. You know, the fact that, you know, they couldn't really quite figure out what, you know, the title's there. It technically spans the cover side to side, but you know, not a lot of effort put, you know, they put all their, you know, art budget apparently into the wizard, and just had to quickly scrawl the band name and the title. Really cool album though. Like this one quite a bit. It's got a kind of a unique sound. The band didn't stick with it long. You can imagine there wasn't a big rock metal demand in Kentucky in 1986. So as one, it might sound like a stereotype, but the band did end up drifting more into like, you know, bluegrass kind of, you know, tunes over time. But yeah, this album really does rock. It's got, you know, a big, you know, kind of power chord structure to a lot of the songs. The vocalist is very good. He can really belt the tunes out. It's a little hard to describe. I've reviewed this and wrote the review for it that's up on Chorusing website. I think I described it as like, you know, imagine, you know, Victor Griffin went to New Jersey and brought Glenn Danzig back to the Tennessee with him, and they recorded, you know, this just, you know, powered out Southern fried Camaro rock, you know, anthem of an album.
Camaro rock.
It very much is kind of the kind of thing that you're just, you know, meant to, you know, completely blast on, you know, the speakers you've got crammed into the back seat while doing donuts in the high school parking lot. There's no other good way to describe it, but it's awesome. It's glorious. It may sound like I'm ragging on it. I'm not. I adore this album. This is one of my prized possessions. It's a bitch to find. It took a few years of looking around, but yeah, I love it to death.
You paid $10 for that, or did the person that bought it previous?
No, this is in a sleeve. I paid $10 for a copy of Forbidden's Twisted into Form.
Wow, that's a good fucking deal.
Yeah, back at the time, it was probably the fair price for it. It just ended up in a different sleeve. No, this one's not an easy or cheap album to come across most of the time. But yeah, you can get CD anthology. Check the band out that way. There's no need to go tracking down, you know, crazy obscure Kentucky vinyl from 30 years ago. But excellent band. I've shown it, I think, in some pictures before. But on my wall back here, I actually have a framed set of art with they have like a little bird as their logo mascot, but I've got pictures of 3 of the original members like signing the piece of art when they did the reissue. They had basically, you know, taken photos, framed it all up, gave it to a guy I know that had kind of, you know, helped him out a little bit.
Alan shows a $600 record is too cheap to put it in this sleeve.
That's why I can afford the record. There's nothing wrong with that sleeve. It's a perfectly good sleeve.
Yeah, it's perfectly good. It says forbidden on it. It's totally fine.
That's an awesome pick because that cover is so cool.
It really is. It's a great cover. It's a great sounding album. And yeah, you know, the going back to the art piece, yeah, the guy, you know, years later contacted me. He's like, I know you're crazy about this band. I have this ridiculously big art piece the band just gifted me, but I have nowhere to put it or anything to do with it. You want it? It's like, how much? He's like, if you'll come by my place, you can have it. And it's like, it is not that far to your place. I know where you live. So next time I went and hung out with him for a while. Yeah, he passed it on to me. So
That's
very
awesome.
cool. But yeah, the Crowhaven Wizard, if you see that in the wild, you're going to consider it. And if you see it for a good price, scoop it up. It is a very rare album and a very cool one. And Aaron probably has commented the night with that one. And there's been a lot of good comments tonight.
Rick says Alan would drive a Benz with $50 tires if it saves money.
There's nothing wrong with those tires. There's still at least an eighth of an inch of tread on them.
And then Tom says, meanwhile, audiophiles put $1 records in MoFi sleeves after ultrasonically cleaning it.
Hey, you don't need like a fancy $300 ultrasonic cleaner. You know, you get a rag and some water. Takes the dirt right off.
Right. Put it in the dishwasher. Totally fine. Put it in the top rack, though. Top rack.
Spending money on your fancy cleaning products and your acid-free backing boards and all that stuff. Yeah, you prop them up with a rock on a wooden shelf. You save your money for the record.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Well,
This
I
has been
see
a
that
night.
awesomely drawn wizard, even though he doesn't need a battle axe. But I'm going to raise you.
Hey, you never know the heat of battle. You forget the key magic word, and all of a sudden you're shooting your balloon animals instead of firebolts. You got to have a fallback.
United Universe, that EXE record would have been a fun one to pull. I should have pulled that one, but I did not. Instead, I am still in dreamland over the show that I saw with my son. Halloween, Better Than Raw, and this album cover speaks to me. I'm a big fan of the drawn witch. She's cute. And this is a great record, by the way.
She got crazy eyes though, man.
Well,
You know she's trouble.
crazier the better.
I'm just saying, you know, you can have some fun, but there's going to be issues when it's time to end that relationship.
Yep. This sat in the local record store forever, and I was not about to pay $30 whatever for it. Then last year I got a gift certificate from the place for $50 from my sister-in-law. I said, "Yep, this is coming home with me." Because
that's a good gift certificate kind of item.
That's a good gift certificate kind of item. And this album fucking rules. Whatever Alan says, don't listen to him because he's wrong on this one. He said,
okay. It's not a bad album. I don't hate it. It's got some good songs on it.
Push, Falling Higher, Hey Lord. Don't spit on my mind. It's good. Revelation. What a killer song. Time I Can, Handful of Pain. What a great song. Yep, I agree that Lee Aaron, she had stuff too for sure.
And she wasn't a cartoon.
Nope. Midnight Sun, great record. I'm still reeling. My kid's first concert ever was Halloween 2 weeks ago, and it was awesome. They were so good. Favorite band, my favorite band, one of my favorite bands, top 5 favorite bands.
This Halloween has a lot of bad album covers, but that one is a fun.
It's a good one. It's a good cover. Well drawn. It's cool.
Was it their last good album cover until the new one? Was there anything in between?
What's the album cover with like the frozen city on it? I thought that was pretty cool.
My God-given right. It's
got the robot pumpkin standing on top of the Statue of Liberty.
Let me see
Tell me
here.
you don't like a Robo Pumpkin?
You've got Dark Ride, which is just a giant black pumpkin.
I don't mind the Dark Ride cover. I think it's super simple, but I like it.
There's not much to it. You've got the rabbit. That don't come easy. You've got all of those. You got Straight Outta Hell, whatever the hell's going on that album cover.
It's a good record.
You've got Keepers 3.
Well, it's not a good cover. It's really bad cover.
Yeah, you've got
Gambling with the Devil, which is another great record. Not a good cover.
No.
Seven Sinners is not offensive. It's just a symbol type of thing.
Yeah, kind of.
That's fine. Is it iconic? No, it's just kind of a whatever. It's a great fucking record though.
I want to hold up my hypothesis and say that that was the last good Halloween cover until the self-titled album.
I agree. The new album is great. Awesome cover. Perfect. So yeah, Tony, follow up some Halloween there, why don't you? With your shmoo and dude slicing over open earths going, oh no.
So I'm going to go back to my comfort zone of goblins, and I'm going to show Leviathan's Desire by Protector.
That guy's my spirit animal, by the way.
This is it's
Is that a self-portrait, by the way? It might be.
Yeah, he's a lot less melted marshmallow and a lot more Danny DeVito. But it's,
put a hat on that fucker. It's me. It's me in the morning getting out of bed.
You have this feral schnauzer though somewhere.
I do, except she's not very feral. She's just kind of fat.
Oh, but this is I love this album cover. So I don't particularly know what's going on other than he's just, Jabba the Hutt style gorging himself by this pool. It would look really nice if they had like frogs in this goblet or something. It would complete the atmosphere. But this one is a great little EP. In between, what record was this right after? Something. It's one of their goofier album names, but it's from '89. Anyway, this is from 1990. So I first saw this album cover when I was like, I don't know, I was like 17, and I went into a record store and I saw this, and I was like, that's awesome, but I have no idea what that is. So I have a limited amount of cash, and I'm not going to spend it on there. And then years went by, and I had no clue what it was. And then one day I was scrolling through, I don't know, eBay or Discogs or something, and I saw this, and I was like, that's that album I have never remembered the name of and have been looking for again for like 5 or 6 years. So that was really exciting to find. And then I figured out Protector was amazing. Just super good. Death thrash, really aggressive. And yeah, I don't know. I just really love this chubby goblin on his marble perch.
I do.
And the tunes on here are great too. Like Mortal Passion and Cain and Abel, which is like it kind of almost calls back to that ancient Canaanian chronicle of like a demonology interpretation of Cain's
an
story.
ancient album, the second ancient album.
Yeah, the Canaanian Chronicles. It kind of has a similar storyline to that, except without the whole descent into hell, kind of like that Supernatural TV show had with Cain. But it's a great record if you guys haven't heard this one. I guess it's an EP, but it's 27 minutes long. I mean, it's just as longer than Rated Blood, I think, or just as or close to. Yeah, killer. Can't say much other than Danny DeVito, Goblin Man's killing it.
Yeah. All right, Alan.
All right. Let me check something on this one real quick before I show it, because it has a little bit of a tie-in, but I want to make sure I don't lead anybody astray here. What is the name of this? Here we go. All right. So, yeah, Marty just showed you album cover with kind of the cool looking, metal lady cartoon mascot with the, as we said, she's trouble. She's got the crazy eye thing going on. Another one for kind of, the strong, overbearing female presence, Cloven Hoof's Dominator. You do not want to fuck with this lady in any way, shape, or form. Cool kind of, composition. It's a weird one because, you unfortunately have the logo taking up way too much space, and some pressings don't have that.
What does this remind you of, Alan?
This is really going, hard for the, Mad Max Tina Turner kind of,
or this cover
Thunderdome thing. And yes, it's this, and that's why I was checking. It's the same artist who did, Sabbath's History of the Time to Come. It is.
It's funny. I pulled this record and you pulled that one. That's hilarious.
That's why I figured you would pull that record. And B, I knew there'd be that connection, but I'm trying to pull up some of the stuff he did covers for, but yeah.
You like the devil women with the white hair, which, it's all good. It might be the same chick. I think it is.
I don't know that one. If so, this was like, her rebellious teenage years, and yours, she's gone on to college. She's discovered the music and poetry of Jim Morrison, gone in kind of a more mature direction and such. Yeah, that's what I was trying to double check over here was the name for the artist, because he did a few album covers, and the mothership's not cooperating with
it. Says art and graphics, Adeptus Graphicus. Adeptus Graphicus.
Cover art.
Illustration by John Blanche.
Yes. I just got it to load finally. Yeah,
You're shitting me. The same guy got the same mileage for two totally different bands. The same chick.
Yeah. He did. He did the Realms of Darkness artwork for Bolt Thrower. He did Sabbath's History of Time to Come. He also did a Storm Witch cover for War of the Witch, which is also very similar in composition. A lot of white and green with a very orangey red background. So he actually used the same kind of basic template 3 times.
Holy
on heavy
crap.
metal albums. Wow. But yeah, on this pressing, the logo is in the way. Other pressings, the logo is not so predominant. But yeah, it's just funny because you have this big shield of a logo, you have this big shield of a shield, and then you have this huge shield of a helmet of hair on top too. So in between, there's a lot of cool little details, to her armor and weaponry and stuff. But yeah, it's a funny composition because it's totally taken over, and it's again very vertical, not much of a background. But it's really taken over by these 3 huge elements. But it's still kind of a cool one. This is a later album by the band, around, I'm going to guess, 88. I don't know off the top of my head. Cloven Hoof were one of those few new wave of British heavy metal bands that kept kind of steaming along through the later 80s and did some very good albums, just nobody paid them any attention. This style was very out of vogue, especially on the UK scene. So they went overlooked, but there's actually a lot of good music on some of those albums, like Dominator, Sultan's Ransom, and stuff. So definitely worth checking out. But yeah, just it plays into the Sabbath cover. I'm glad you pulled that one, Marty. And just again, it plays into this whole warriors and the whole post-apocalyptic battle soldier thing is always a big popular motif in metal, and this is a pretty cool representation of it, even if it's a little hard to see because of the stupid logo being so big.
All right, good pull.
Yeah, it's not as good as the Sabbath cover. The Sabbath cover obviously has much better artwork.
He perfected her by the time he got through Cloven Hoof and went on to Hoof or Hoof. It all depends on what part of the country you're from. Hoof. All right. Wheels of Fire, burning bright right across the sky.
Nice.
Was Ken Kelly? Ken Kelly, is that
the
guy that did this as well? Also did Kiss's Destroyer and Fighting the World, which is a direct ripoff of Destroyer. He tried to get the band not to use it, but that's what they wanted. But completely macho. It's Man of War. A little homoerotic, which is fine. It's all good. Great record. Kings of Metal. What do we got here? Hail and Kill. Come on. Wheels of Fire is great. Kings of Metal. Heart of Steel. Got to have a good positive ballad on there. Sting of the Bumblebee. You got some excess from Mr. Joey DeMaio. Crown of the Ring, Kingdom Come, Hail and Kill, Warrior's Prayer, Blood of the Kings. Great record. If you want to see us go in depth on the Man of War discography, a year or so ago, we did oddly enough, a deep dive on Man of War with none other than Jason Hook from Let's Get Into It, which people are like, what? He did? The hardcore guy he loves Man of War. He loves Man of War. A lot of fun. I'm not going to go too much into this. If you know Man of War, you know Man of War, but pretty much iconic cover art, and they used it many, many times. This is a theme they just could not break away from, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's the style Ken Kelly is really known for in his art, a lot more so than the Gates of Slumber album that I showed earlier tonight. But yeah, and he was obviously good at. Someone mentioned in the chat earlier too, and it is worth noting his style's a little, similar to Frank Frazzata's, who was his uncle, step uncle. He literally was related to the guy. So it wasn't just.
Someone mentioned it earlier in the chat tonight too. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I don't remember who it was, but yeah, someone else brought that back up. I had forgotten about that. But Man of War's art, very iconic. Music, very iconic. Hail and Kill, Kings of Metal's it's one of those kind of divisive albums. There are some people that really don't like that era of Man of War, but I think it's glorious. That's a great album.
North of the Rockies, he might have done that Balsagoth record, Starfire Burning. I think he might have. I don't know.
I will check while we see what Tony's next pick is. I'm not sure. That's a fair question.
Yeah.
All right, Tony.
All right, so I was kind of contemplating if this is actually considered a character, but I think I'm going to consider it a character because it has clothing on. Uh, this is the album Unity by Skyforest. That I was originally thinking that this was just going to be like
Swans
just
are
a swan.
assholes, by the way. You look
Oh,
at them, you think they're pretty and cool. You get up by them, they suck. Swans
No,
suck.
they're just fancy geese.
They're assholes. Yeah.
Yeah. So this one has like a pink ribbon and a flower crown on it, which doesn't exactly do us any favors on the metal meter. But this album's amazing. So you get this really pretty, I'm assuming maybe a oil painting or watercolor painting of this beautiful landscape with this majestic swan. But I kind of picture this as like some kind of divinity in some kind of pantheon or something.
Is somebody
really
riding the swan?
No, there's nobody on it. It's just the swan losing its flower crown as it takes off.
Oh.
But
I think that's supposed to be like metaphoric for something.
It's probably a crown of assholes. Those aren't flowers. Look closer. They're assholes.
Yeah, there's a little booty holes all in this circle there.
But the assholes.
Yep, fancy goose. But so this is like a shoegazy kind of atmospheric black metal album that is just heavily majestic, man. This one's just really, really breathtakingly beautiful and expansive. Big open chords, heavy keyboards, and it's a Northern Silence band, so if that means anything, it kind of has like a connotation to how it's going to sound. And I remember the first time I heard this, so when I was in high school, I didn't have money to be collecting, a lot of stuff. So I get a couple things here and there, but I had access to the printer in my school library, and I'd go make bootleg tape dubs. And so I would just sit there and bootleg cassette J cards and listen to records during school hours instead of doing my work. And I found this on YouTube, and I just put it on. I'm just like sitting back in my chair, just blown away at how majestic this album is. So I guess this is sort of a character. I'm gonna roll with it being a character. Great Russian atmospheric black metal band. Yeah, Northern Silence is amazing. One of my favorite labels.
I was just listening to something that came out on Northern Silence today. Who was it? Atriest? Atriest? I didn't. Yeah, it was not a band. I think there was a Brazilian band. I'd have to double check, but it sounded really good on first listen.
Yeah, it's a great label. It's one of those ones where, like, I see a Northern Silence on the back. I'm like, I'll probably like this 99% of the time.
Yeah, Torsten has a definite ear, a good ear for that stuff, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Atrest, Follow Cold Paths. Yeah, very much atmospheric black metal. It just kind of came across my board this morning. It's like, it looks interesting. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Is it a new record?
Yeah, I think it's either just been released or it's just about to get released.
I'll be scoping that out for sure.
Yeah, made a good first impression.
Okay, Alan.
All right. This band didn't necessarily have a mascot, but every album or lots of their albums did feature sort of an iconic character. I picked the Hellion for the Judas Priest representation of the night. One of the, again, very iconic heavy metal album cover, bird front and center, very stylized art. When you look at it now, it does feel a bit dated. It screams early to mid 80s for sure. At the same time, I think it still holds up really well. I always thought it was cool that it's got very bright colors to it. It's mainly a yellow background. You usually think of a lot of metal albums having to be darker colors, more somber hues. Like you were saying, Marty, we can't smile and be happy in metal. We must be serious. We must be dark. We must kick your ass. These colors say, hey, how you doing, guys? Let's party. Got some blow. And I always liked the way they did the sense of motion, that it wasn't just a static bird on the background, that they found this kind of weird impressionist way to clearly make it that this bird is in motion, it's dive bombing, it's dynamic. They did the same thing very much, of course, on the next album too, but it works really well. Priest didn't carry over their mascots from album to album, but they have a lot of iconic characters. Painkiller, of course. Even some of the newer albums like Angel of Retribution, they still focus on that, one key character. You zoom in on Hellbent for Leather, aka Killing Machine. You've got just the face, the close up of the face. So they did characters to very good effect on a lot of their albums.
All right.
A lot of good iconic mascot character people in the Priest catalog, for sure.
Definitely so, yeah. It's kind of interesting they didn't have a running mascot, but they just didn't go down that path.
Yeah.
Okay. This one might be a bit of a stretch, but I came across it, so I might as well pull it out. This is Nocturnity with oh my god. Harps of the Ancient Temples. This band was I don't know if they're still together or not. This is their latest album, I think. Came out years ago. Greek band, couple brothers. They're both blacksmiths. I prefer their earlier albums. Their earlier albums are just really good, well done, atmospheric black metal, kind of in the Norwegian vein, northern vein, Scandinavian vein. But they all made their own stuff, their own gear, apparently. So I'm told. I don't know if that's true or not. But really good Greek black metal. Has a little bit of that Greek vibe to it. Very minor. Like I said, it's mostly Scandinavian feel. People, when this came out, were ranting and raving on the VC about it. So I'm like, oh, cool. I've got all the other Nocturnity stuff. I'm going to pick this up. I pick it up. Kind of average. This is kind of mid-paced. Would have liked a little bit more speed differentiation in the song structures. But it's still good. It's a good record. But didn't blow me away. I prefer their older stuff. But I haven't seen anybody show this one in a while. I thought it'd be an interesting one to pull.
It's funny you pulled that because I was just thinking about that band, trying to remember their name.
Nocturnity.
Yeah, Nocturnity. I'm going to definitely be listening to that sometime soon because I was just having an itch to check that band out finally.
The earlier stuff, the Crucify Him and oh my God, what the hell? Some other in a different language. I can't remember. There's some good stuff. Early stuff is good. I enjoy it.
Yeah, the Greeks have a really cool way of doing things.
They do, for sure. And you're back, Tony.
Oakley doke. So we're going to go back down to some obscurity here. This is a random find that I found at a Goodwill once. And I saw the cover and I was like, this looks awesome. But this is hilarious. The band's called Canker. Yeah, so I saw this and I was like, that's coming home for $1 every day of the week. It's just like
fair. That is fair.
Yeah, it's just like printed on like heavy cardstock paper and it's like a pro pressed CDR. And the front cover is this. So it's definitely some kind of promo. It doesn't have a proper spine. But that cover is hilarious. This like smoke person evil magician guy. I don't really know what is going on, but this is a really, really good little, I guess, promo EP because it's 4 or 5 tracks long. It doesn't even have a track listing on it, which is ridiculous. But I put it on the other night and I was like, man, this really rips. I'm glad I thought to pull this. It kind of sounds a lot like Hellstar, but with less interesting riffs. It has a lot of that quick gallopy speed. It kind of sounds like the second Hellstar album a lot. You know, before A Distant Thunder and Nosferatu, when they were still clinging onto that really traditional metal style. And I messaged Ken from the Death Metal Crypt on Instagram the other day because
he's in the chat. He was anyway.
Yeah, I saw he was here earlier. Howdy, Ken. But I figured, you know, him being a wealth of knowledge of the Chicago metal scene, I've been searching for information on this band. Can't find a thing other than the fact that one of the guitar players was in a crossover thrash band from Carroll Stream, Illinois, which is a Chicago suburb. He didn't really seem to know much about it, so they have maintained a strong level of obscurity. So this is from 2004. Really good speedy metal from the Chicago greater area, I guess you would say. Cool stuff. If any information is available from the 1,500 people who just heard me pee a while ago, let me know.
Right?
Yeah, great record. What do we got,
Interesting.
Alan?
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool record.
All right, Alan.
All right, let's go with this one next. Cool death metal band. I haven't been keeping up with them as closely over the years, but figured we'd do Horrendous's Ecdysis.
Yep.
Yeah, this band, had, South Carolina connection. So, got, a little bit of, cheering for the home team going on maybe. But, The Chills is still probably my favorite by them. I really love the vibe they captured on that debut album. But this one has, some really magnificent tunes on it as well. Especially the opener, The Stranger, is great. And, just a really, cool, sort of, eye-catching cover. In a sense, you could look at it and think, ew, gross. But the way they've, the actual art style, and again, I don't know if this is watercolored or airbrushed or air colored or water brushed or what. It doesn't really scream gore at you. It seems like something icky is probably going on, but you don't get the same kind of dripping bits of meat and fluids and kind of impression. It's kind of fuzzy, blurry enough that it kind of takes that edge off of it. It actually makes it look, in a way, a little bit more serene. With whatever's being stripped away, it doesn't strike you as necessarily being a bad thing. It's not necessarily a putrefaction or some kind of act of unholy defilement. It's like, this may be more spiritual or on some other kind of metaphysical level that it's being cleansed. Don't know, but it makes for an interesting piece of art. It's just this one close-up of the character, not much else going on to it. But second album by the band. I think this was 2014, and they were already taking some big steps forward musically on this one. It doesn't have, it's the first album is, very fun, sort of old school death metal before it got done, 1,000 times over and over later in the 21st century. But by this one, they were already showing that, they really wanted to, start pushing more boundaries and move into those, more progressive veins of death metal, which, they did pretty well with. So Horrendous, cool band. Haven't been the most prolific, but they're on what album? They've done 4, and I think they have a 5th one that's pretty close to release.
That band is one of the earlier ones that were, really ripping off the Martin Van Drunen vocal style that ended up tons of death metal bands started doing at that point. Granted, it's a great vocal style, but let the guy have his style,
Yeah. But again, they were kind of doing it before, to be hipster about it. Horrendous was doing that shit before it became cool to do it.
Commonplace.
Before it became so just kind of templated, just with so many bands doing it. But I like the cover on the Horrendous because it seems to show something gross, but in a way that's actually not that gross. So yay.
All right.
What you got next, Marty?
Well, I've got the album cover for this is very ambiguous. It does not at all represent what is housed within. And that would be UK's Sacrilege Within the Prophecy. You got that obviously blind little girl there. Her eyes are sewn shut. Nope, they're just closed. I don't know if she's just blinking or there's something wrong. I don't know. I bought this on tape when it came out because it was on Metal Blade. So, before the internet, you just bought things that were on a label you bought things on before that you liked. So I bought this record, and in later years, I ended up picking it up via Discogs. If you've never heard this record before and you put it on, you're going to hear the template for what became Bolt Thrower. Straight up. They were friends with this band. It sounds like Bolt Thrower with Tam on vocals, kind of punk style screaming over the top. It's very heavy. Their album that came before it doesn't sound much like Bolt Thrower. The album that came after this, Turn Back Trilobite, not a great record, kind of weird. But this record, you could tell that the dudes from Bolt Thrower were really impressed by this. It's kind of uncanny, the sound. It sounds like early Bolt Thrower. There's a crusty, weird punk vibe mixed in with the metal on this. Again, the cover does not look at all like what the record sounds like. It's really kind of crazy. But This band was great. They were very cool. Their first 2 records in particular, this one and the one before it, very good. Check it out. If you're a Bolt Thrower fan, give Within the Prophecy a bit of a spin online. You will be like, oh, musically, yeah, I get it. It's there for sure. That detuned, kind of weird, mixed with punk kind of metal vibe. It's very cool. Good stuff.
Yeah, I haven't heard that record before. I've heard a lot of good things, but I haven't heard that one.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
good
they
shit.
drifted away from that style.
That Turnback Trilobite record was not very good at all.
They turn
that
into?
was a bit. That one was a bit dull.
Yeah.
But the early stuff, you're exactly right, Marty. It's the kind of rougher, punkier template for what Bolt Thrower would improve upon.
Yeah, and they were friends, and they I've seen Carl talking about hanging out with Tam and seeing them live in the early days of Sacrilege and being blown away by it. So they're obviously very much an influence on Bolt Thrower for sure. All right, Tony.
Alrighty, so I went from some random obscurity to I'm going to kind of go over into the mainstream a little bit on this one. This is a band I am incredibly fond of. I'm a huge, huge fan. This is Skeleton Witch with the album Forever Abomination. I hear a lot of people talk terribly about this band, and it kind of confuses me. But this band is so good. Check out this cover here. It's kind of like this root tree man coming out of the ground or something like that. I was thinking maybe like a Wendigo or something. The antler tree. It fits well with the Forever Abomination thing, kind of this, thing that shouldn't exist popping out of the forest floor. It's it's an interesting thing, but this band in particular has a lot of really thrashy speed metal techie riffs with basically a guy doing like Abbott style vocals, Chance Garnett with some death metal kind of really dry, low incantation-y kind of vocals. It's a really nice contrast. He switches between the 2 styles incredibly well. This album is just riff-o-rama, dude. You just take a bite out of it. There's so many good riffs on here.
Sorry, Alan.
It's a whole lot of fun. All these tunes on here are just classic after classic as far as like the modern sense goes. It seems like Prosthetic didn't really spare any expense with the art too, because it's a giant piece of art. Yeah,
Neat.
I love this cool kind of style with the digipack. I'm not a huge digipack guy, but it fits really, really well. The album cover is really expansive. It fits well, and I'm a big fan of green covers. I don't know. I have the synesthesia, neurological tendency of where you associate things with colors.
Oh,
and
yeah.
If you like,
So can you see music as colors? I know Devin Townsend can see that.
Yeah, I have the same thing. Like Slayer's always been orange to me and kind of gray. And those are usually colors I don't really like, but I love Slayer. So it's kind of weird. And that's pretty much everything. If I hear something and it gives me like a brown or like a oxblood red, I don't really like it. It's a very odd thing. And the same thing goes with a lot of things, literature, movies, any kinds of stuff. So a green cover is usually a good start, and it makes me just, for whatever reason, we're gravitating towards that. But yeah, Skeleton Witch is awesome. It kind of reminds me of Witchery with more technicality and more speed metal influence. And the vocals, Chance Garnett is possibly my favorite metal vocalist. And he's just absolutely great. I saw them live once, and it was when Chance had to leave a tour because he was having issues with addiction and had to go deal with that, which good on him. I'm glad he's doing better. But I got to saw this band instrumental, and you just really got to bite into those riffs. They were opening for Sabaton and Amon Amarth, which was a really fun show. But yeah, it gave me a really good appreciation for the band, and ever since then, I've been really floored by them. Great band. If you guys are into Skeleton Witch, definitely check it out.
Yeah, I've never dived into them. I think I had one of their albums a long time ago. I haven't ever avoided them. They're just one of those bands I perennially never get around to. But yeah, and you're right. They seem to be a band where folks either really love them or they really don't love them.
Yeah, it's a really polarizing band, which is weird because they have such a style that I would think would be so appealing to metal fans,
Yeah, there's nothing about their style what little I remember of it didn't strike me as a band that should have been, a love it or hate it kind of project. But here we are. But yeah, and I'm familiar with that condition you mentioned. I had a roommate that had that condition where, yes, everything was very color associated.
Interesting.
Yeah. I've actually wondered if I might be I don't know if it's a scalable thing or anything. If so, I've always wondered if I have a kind of mild version of that, because I do that same kind of thing where I associate lots of different things with colors, months, days of the week. Each day of the week, there's kind of a color in my head. Grade levels are always colored a certain way.
That's definitely it. Yeah. I have the same thing. Sorry, keep going.
Oh no, I was just saying, just lots of random things like that. That yes, there's I color code almost anything if I'm having to do lists of things. There's always a color coding to it, and it makes it much easier for me to see and follow what's like on spreadsheets and graphs and stuff. If it's a bunch of black numbers and lines, I'm just like, give me a second, let me punch this up a little bit. Now we can see what's going on.
Yeah, it creates really nice, easy organization. But I have it so much to like every letter has a color, every number has a color, and it's an odd thing, but the green is one of my favorites. Green and like a blue are the two ones that really make me like stuff.
Cool,
Interesting.
Yeah. My roommate was close to that kind of level. I don't have it in that much detail, but yeah, he was very. It was one of those things at the time he hadn't been diagnosed, so it didn't really interfere with anything, but yeah, he just, you come up with these, he was the same kind of way. He could find all these, very, kind of subdued patterns and stuff and things, but it's because he was seeing things in a very different way than most folks.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, and I thought everybody was like that, but my wife is like that too. So
interesting.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I guess it's just the thing.
Yeah. At some point, you start to figure, it's like, wait, what do you mean, that, March isn't yellow to you? And you're
exactly.
Like, nobody here thinks March is yellow. It really is just me. Okay. That's not what I was expecting.
Yeah, it's a weird tendency for sure.
Yep.
But it works. What do you got for us, Alan?
What have I got next? I will do.
I gotta go pee. Anybody want me to mic it up?
Get the clip on mic, but
I'll try not to fart at the end. It'll be
put it on your zipper.
It's classier that way.
Hey, put one on each side of the tank. We can get a stereo effect.
Oh, dude, that'd be great.
Yeah, put it on like a little bit
ASMR version of heavy metallurgy.
People can play the video back like at what is it, 0.25 speed on YouTube, and hear like each drop. Bloop, bloop.
Oh, I gotta pee. I'll be right back.
If that doesn't make it into the best ofs, that's eventually going to get made. I don't know.
Well, I've been negotiating with Thomas in the chat. I consider Tom to be our unofficial documentarian, and if he's not keeping up with timestamps for such moments, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. If anybody is going to do that, it will fall to Cine Arcadia Productions, and it will be glorious.
I'm ready for it.
Let's see. Well, Marty's gone. I'll save that one until he gets back. We'll save that one until he gets back. Yeah. Here's a good straightforward one. Steel Assassin, War of the Eight Saints. You don't get much more metal than, knight with giant angel wings and a sword, riding a big horse on your album cover.
Oh yeah.
It's it's a cool picture. It's a bit of a cliche perhaps, but it's well done, and I like this album simply because it's a real good pummeling US power metal. It doesn't have any of the European kind of stereotypes about it. The best thing I can compare it to is the more aggressive side of Jagdpanzer, especially the first few songs. I mean, it's very up tempo, very heavy on the drumming. The vocalist sounds a lot like the Tyrant Conklin. If you like your US power metal stuff and you never checked this one out, it's really good. First tracks on here, of course, aren't a funny font, but you got Curse of the Black Prince, Curse of the Black Prince and stuff. Yeah, these are just driving, fist pumping songs on it, and definitely plays into one of the big power metal stereotypes here. You look at it, if you just are flipping past this in a used bin, it's going to look a little bit generic to you.
Stupid.
You might think, I've seen lots of albums with covers like that.
Yeah,
but, it is a pretty ass-kicking album nonetheless. So, yep, it's nothing else. It's a good representation of, yes, there's a lot of albums out there that tend to look like that one, but that one is seriously strong. The dude has wings and a horse. Well, Brian, sometimes, the weather's bad. You don't want to go flying around, when the wind is gusting too much.
It's really windy. Exactly. Yep.
Exactly. Flying, against the slipstream, that you might end up, blown off course. You could be anywhere. So, you tuck those things in, you let the horse do the work down at the ground level. Yeah. Again, you got to plan ahead for these things, folks. If you don't plan ahead, you end up blown into Des Moines, Iowa, and you're way off quest from your, wherever you're supposed to be hunting your treasure. Because you ain't going to find it in Des Moines, because it's Des Moines. I've now pissed off all 3 viewers from Iowa. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, Ben. Yeah.
Sorry, Ben. We love you. All right, Marty. What would you like to follow up Steel Assassin with?
Well, this is a classic lead-off album by Running Wild. And I can't help but just from the little bit of a profile over the year picture of this guy, it looks like Geddy Lee. I've always pictured this as Geddy Lee with some drawn upside down cross tattoos, slapped on some gauntlets, and start welding through a door. It's blowtorching through a door. But this is great start to this band. This is pre-Pirate Metal Revolution, and you got Genghis Khan. I love the English on here. It's so good. God, Prisoner of Our Time, Black Demon, Victim of State's Power and Force. A Victim of, awesome. God, this album rules. And one after it I like as well too, but this has always had a special campy place in my heart. And I got this cheap somewhere too. It was ridiculous. It might have been eBay before when eBay first started, when it was fun to buy records on eBay because you get them all cheap. Because nobody wanted records. Now everybody wants records, and they're not cheap. There's a bunch more you need to have, Simon. Oops, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to answer Ben's. They were huge Judas Priest fans. They took their album title from the Judas Priest song.
That name doesn't bother me.
It's got at least a kind of a dynamic quality towards it. There's action, it's kinetic. I'll give it to them. It is not the greatest moniker in history, but we've seen a lot worse tonight.
It's amazing.
Adrian, Randy.
Yeah, you say Iowa 3 times and Ben shows up in the chat. It's like Beetlejuice.
Halloween. When you think about it, German band names, you got to set the bar somewhere kind of medium. Running Wild is they were ahead of many of their countrymen there.
All right, Tony, you are back.
Of all the times I've seen that Gates to Purgatory album cover, I've never noticed he was using a blowtorch going through a door. I thought he was grinding a sword, literally.
No, it's a blowtorch.
Wow.
I think. Wow. Hold on, let me double check this.
We're learning new things.
Yeah, it's a blowtorch.
Wow. That's a killer record, though.
It is a killer record.
To carry on the speed metal here, let's go to the Netherlands with Mandator.
Hey, Tony, this guy may have gotten his screen name from you.
No. Tony took it to the high water toilet. There's high water in that toilet.
Yeah,
there's
my cats.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, but Mandator here, man.
Just not talk about me pissing anymore. Here's a CD I'm going to show everybody.
This is my nervous cop out of that conversation.
Like an ever flowing stream. I mean, damn it.
I'm glad I can make history tonight, boys.
You did totally. First, it was a first. Heavy metal.
Next up, Atlantean Codex, the Golden Bough.
All right, so this guy, back to Mandator. This is a great name. I don't really know what they're trying to go for with spelling Mandator the way that they do, but this cover's great. I can't really tell what this guy's supposed to be. He kind of looks like a samurai warrior lord of sorts, and I don't know, it kind of fits the whole, he looks like he's about to get up from that throne and just whoop some booty.
Go take a piss.
think so. He's waiting for his golden crested toilet. Yeah, it's gonna be good stuff. And then there's all like these green hanging people on the side, which I don't really know what that's supposed to be. And they're like on vines or trees, or they kind of look like the tentacles from the Alien movies. But this is a ripper, dude. This is an absolute ripping kind of thrashy speed metal record. I picked up a lot of like Testament flavors on this album. I don't really know if anybody else gets that out of it, but every time I've heard it, I kind of thought a little bit of Testament. The vocals are great, high and soaring at points, but nice and gruff and mid-ranged when it needs to be. It's just a great one. Cool Samurai Kings on album covers are always a good way to get me going, because you don't see that every day, you know? That's not something that I feel like is very often in metal. I can't think of a lot of samurais on album covers other than like that new Maiden record.
Yeah. There's a few bands that did the whole play into like, you know, the Japanese motifs that do it, but it's certainly not an overused character type.
No, it's not, but it's a cool character type. I think should be tapped into.
We need more samurais in metal.
Right on.
The Knights of the East.
All right, Alan.
All right. Next one. Very cool cover character on this one. Get the name right because I haven't pulled this in a long time. It's basically one man black metal project called Ackless. The album's called The Dreaming Eye. Now I'll say up front for folks, you know, that are mindful of such things, you know, this guy, you know, has made some, you know, sketchy comments and stuff. Anytime somebody starts quoting Nietzsche over and over and over, you kind of gotta wonder a tad. So if that's a big thing to you, this is not a band you might want to check out. He does make some, you know, very interesting, very good, sort of, you know, very dark black metal. But for our subject tonight, it's just, you know, a very, very cool cover painting of this, you know, really, again, what is going on with this character? You know, very darkened eyes, you know, some kind of, you know, serious pendant thing going on there. Very nightmarish kind of character. And a lot of the songs and lyrics, you know, the project, if you read some of the interviews with the guy, was meant to sort of like, you know, explore and interpret dreams and symbology of dreams and such. And the character kind of plays into that. And it draws a heavy influence from one of my favorite comic series, which is Neil Gaiman's Sandman. There's, you know, a real strong visual similarity to the main character Morpheus, as drawn by, you know, Dean McCain and others throughout the series. You know, just, you know, with the very deep sunken eyes, the very pale skin, you know, other just representations, very, very similar. He had to be kind of drawing from that for whoever did the art piece for it. But yeah, it's a very good representation of the kind of music on the album too. That it's very, very dark, you know, kind of horrific thing. It really does, you know, feel like, you know, a nightmare taken and turned into music. Not in a real lo-fi way or anything like that. Maybe, and this may be a stretch, but, you know, a little closer to something like, you know, what you'd expect from Ruins of Bevrast, rather than, you know, just a lo-fi, screechy kind of black metal. Yeah. Again, if you're really conscientious about, you know, what kind of statements and stuff artists make, this may not be the guy for you to check out. If that isn't, you know, a main concern for you, I do, both his albums under this name are very, very well put together for this style and really give off that same quality that you get from the artwork. So Ackless, The Dreaming Eye. And if you're looking for something to read at the same time, the Sandman Collection, fabulous series. Absolutely. Really good stuff by Neil Gaiman.
All right. I have got 3 more to go.
I'm getting close to the bottom 2, so I think we're on schedule.
I got 4 of them.
This is a pretty iconic album cover. It's really good, although I prefer the one that follows it up. This was their more crusty. There's a bit of a punk vibe on here, but UK's Onslaught, Power from Hell.
Oh, nice. Yep.
Absolutely iconic album cover. Combat version, gold stamp promo, which I don't know. People make a big deal out of that. I don't know why that's a big deal, but whatever. Yeah, this was The Force is where this band really captivated me. I love that record. Absolutely great. This is good. I haven't spun it in a long time, but I remember it being a lot crustier, a little more punk derived, maybe a little bit more Venom inspired. Great stuff. Sucks it's got a seam split on it, but that's the way it goes. Yeah. Easy one to bootleg for your screen printer.
Yep.
But I shouldn't have to go too in depth on that one. English thrash has never really been a huge. I mean, obviously, I had a Sabbath record, and but bands like Zentrix and all these other thrash bands. What the hell's an Acid Rain? They just never clicked for me. Cerebral Fix, I don't mind, but they never blew me away. I don't know. There's been a handful of bands, and that's really been the English were a little late to the thrash thing for me.
Yeah, there are some good ones. They're mixed in. Some of those UK thrash bands, and Onslaught are certainly a good example of this. They changed styles pretty rapidly from album to album to album. Like Power from Hell doesn't sound much like The Force at all, and The Force doesn't sound much like In Search of Sanity at all.
No, they have Steve Grimmett on vocals.
Yeah, the first 3 Virus albums sound very, very different from one another too. But yeah, cool stuff.
Hydrovane's a great UK band too.
Hydrovane?
Really, really great.
UK band? Are they a UK band?
Yep. Yeah, they've got that hilarious album cover with the little frog reptile. Now there's a frog reptile samurai something.
Oh yeah, he did have a sword, didn't he? Yeah. There you go. There's your samurai.
Yep.
Hang on. Now I need to know.
Yeah, I don't have it. Will it, Tony, track it down? It's always quoted as one of those, like, top 25 worst heavy metal album covers ever. But a lot of folks seem to like the album.
Oh, he's a Reaper. Well, he does kind of look like a samurai too. Show it again.
Samurai Frog Reaper. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
That's a rough one, but it's great. I love the corn levels. He's got snakes coming out of his head. I could have pulled this and I didn't even think of it.
He's a salamanderi. I'm trying. It's getting late.
All right, so I'm gonna get a little lowbrow here for a minute and go for some brutal death metal because I feel like I haven't talked about that much super extreme stuff. This is Stages of Decomposition with the album Piles of Rotting Flesh. So this is one of the first death metal albums I ever got into.
Is there a lot of bree type stuff going on?
It's surprisingly not. It looks like it, and it kind of gets affiliated with that style.
It's brie free.
Yeah, it kind of lies more into that 90s groovy brutal death metal style with some I always kind of have like a similar atmosphere to the earlier Dying Fetus on this one, but that's a nasty album cover. I feel like I don't need to explain much, but the maggot piles on the piles of flesh is just absolutely repugnant. But it's got, it's filled with horror samples. It's really gross sounding, but they have like a more throaty kind of roar vocal as opposed to the frog vocals and the toilet bowl gutturals. It's fun. It's kind of techy, and they do get thrown into a lot of the slimy stuff. I mean, it's out on Gorehouse Productions, but I do get down with some of this brutal death metal. And
sometimes it's fun.
Yeah, it's it's stuff to put on where you don't got to think about it much. You're like, I get what you're doing. Like, I don't got to be like contemplating, what's Dan Swano trying to get across to me at this point. It's very, very lowbrow. It's horror movie. It's brutal, and it's about as heavy as they come. These nefarious characters up here, like the second Chainsaw Massacre, where they have like the house made out of corpses.
Yep.
That's kind of what I was thinking when I was thinking of this one. Nothing too much to say about it other than, I don't know, I just like some corny, brutal death metal from time to time, and I felt like I needed to pull something to represent. But this actually was the first video that got me into metal YouTubing, was Count Blagareth reviewing this. I heard him review this, it had to have been 9-10 years ago at this point, and I was like, what is all this, what is he talking about, slam? What does that mean? So I like listened to it, and him talking about brutality and just beating you over the head heavy, and I'm like, I get it. And then I got onto like an MP3 sharing website, and I downloaded this and some Cannibal Corpse, and that kind of started the journey for me at like 14, 15 years old, something like that. But it's a really, really great, goofy kind of cornball brutal death metal record.
Yeah, the whole slam thing I think is kind of comes from hardcore. It's got those, more detuned breakdowns,
Yeah, the beat down he chugs. And all
Yeah,
that.
beat down chug. All right, Alan.
All right. Yes, we got time for at least one more heavy metal mascot that we should have discussed before now, but the time has come. Tior the Mighty, long-running beloved character on the Riot album covers. Body of a man, head of a baby fur seal, and another axe cover for you, Marty. So
You're a forfer.
yeah, whenever we need to do the axe themed album cover stream, I've already got my list pulled pretty much. But yes, Riot. What can you say about Tior?
Stupid is what first thing comes to mind.
Incredibly, yes. It's just it really is one of those what the fuck kind of moments. I've never really even heard a great explanation from the band about why they slapped this together, other than just, well, it would be kind of unique, might make people stop and look, and it has done that. He does not appear on every Riot album cover. They did drift away from it for a period, but they also drifted back to it on other album covers as well. They did not completely abandon their little fur seal mascot. This is my kind of cheese. Yes, it's stupid. Yes, it makes no sense. And, would you fuck with a battle axe wielding half man, half seal? No, you wouldn't. If you saw this in real life, you would shit your pants. And
No, I hear the baby seals are susceptible to a good clubbing.
Not this one. That's the whole point. This one is come for revenge. It's just like, I will see your club and I will split your fucking skull wide open.
I thought it was
and
a poodle,
burn your
north
city
of the
down
Rockies.
in the background too. I mean, he's not just taking you out one by one. He's like napalming like entire urban centers as revenge for how fur seals have been treated. So yeah, that's a thing. But it's always been one of the more bewildering band mascots. But I absolutely love Tior. That's why, yes, I had to kind of put him as like sort of the big overarching theme for the thumbnail tonight. If you want to go real deep, you can think of the thumbnail tonight as the billboard from The Great Gatsby and the eyes of Google's looking over the entire neighborhood. That's Tior right there. That's some deep literary shit. There's at least two people who will watch this who will get that and appreciate it. One of them is named Tom. But I had to include Riot for sure. Everybody,
look at those eyes. Look into those soft, innocent eyes.
Those eyes would kill you and everyone you've ever loved.
Stupid.
Oh, absolutely.
Stupid, but awesome.
All right. My last one. This is, again, I've shown this a million times on this channel, and I can't state enough how pivotal of a record this is in my musical development. My absolute favorite compilation of all time, Doomsday News, the new generation of heavy metal. This is a early noise comp. It features Scanner with Galactose, Rage Before the Storm, Death Row, Scattered by the Wind, Corner, Arrogance and Uniform, which was for this comp specifically, Tankard, Total Addiction, Sabbat, Hosanna in Exilus, Halloween Starlight, Vendetta, and The Brave Man Falls, Celtic Frost, Mesmerize, Creator After the Attack, which was exclusive to this comp as well for a while, and Voivod Cockroaches. This album blew me away. I had to own everything by every band on this thing. And I still look at it and want to listen to it. And I put it on and I know what song is coming next. You listen to an album enough times, you just know what the next song is. This record for me. But I always like the cover. You got the solitary monk there, the evil monk with the long nails, and very cool.
How do we know he's evil?
Because of the long fingernails. Evil people don't cut their fingernails.
He lives like a very modest life. He's in a monastery. They don't necessarily have all the modern niceties like nail clippers. Maybe,
but he's standing in a window with the skeleton and the Medusa frame.
It's like one of those ossuary kind of old churches in Europe. They're not necessarily evil. They just had to. You got to put the bones somewhere.
He's got a knife.
Why
He's
not
going to
architecture?
sacrifice something.
Maybe he's cutting vegetables for lunch. He's making a salad for the guys before they have to do their afternoon chants.
Maybe.
I mean, he could be evil. I'm just saying your evidence is a little bit circumspect.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's the word I wanted, but I want to stick with it because I already said it.
I really always liked this guy that they had for Noise, Lavre. He's done all the Death Row covers and a lot of stuff and Creator. He did Creator covers, Pleasure to Kill. He was kind of like the in-house noise artist guy, but yep. Great comp. If you've never heard this comp, get it.
Yep. Yeah. It's, pretty much a who's who of the Noise Records catalog.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My first copy of it was on cassette and I ended up getting that on eBay during the heyday when nobody wanted vinyl. So I got it for cheap in good condition. And that leads us to Tony. Bring us home, Tony. What have you got?
How many of y'all got? You guys have?
I'm done. That was my last. So go for it.
I have one last one to show, but I will probably just tell another Tior the Mighty story instead.
Okay, so I got 3. So should I just run through them all?
Run through them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this first one I got here is kind of the opposite spectrum of that brutal death metal I showed. It's kind of like proto metal. This is Dust with the album Heart Attack.
Nice.
Oh, that's a cool cover.
Yep.
This is a great album cover. I read up a little bit about the painter and then completely forgot all of the facts of which I put into my brain.
More axes.
Yes. This is my one axe representative for the night, I think. But I'm not really sure what's going on other than some mountaintop battling. And I think it's pretty awesome. It's a great photo. It's got the really cool color scheme. That baby blue color always gets me. If you haven't heard this album, it kind of teeters between hard rock and like folk rock, kind of proto metal. There's some really heavy riffage, but then there's tons of like acoustic guitars. It's an interesting contrast, and it's very 1972, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It fits really well in that area.
Yep.
It's really cool. I kind of picked up some stuff off of some similar stylings to the band Mason Prophet from Illinois, if you're familiar. It's cool. A little bit of that folk rock touch, a lot of that heavy driven fuzzed out guitar. It's a really nice contrast. Dust is great. What do we got here next? This is another one that just gets me automatically because there's werewolves. This is A Beast Conceived by Howling from Kentucky. I'm assuming this speaks to you as well, Marty. Yeah.
I kind of like it. Something about it.
Yeah, so these are like phantom werewolf people that are just absolutely horrifying looking, but they have a really awesome logo. The green color scheme is really cool. The cabin in the woods kind of feeds into the campy horror of this being a Razorback Records release. This is one of those projects that has all the regular people that would be involved in that. Here's all the people. That dude Wayne, that's in a million bands, like Father Befouled and Gotha, and then Vanessa, who was involved with all the Razorback stuff for a long time, and then Tony Proffer, who I feel like I definitely know, but I don't know a ton about. But I really liked this album cover. I thought it was cool. It's really kind of raw death thrash with kind of gruff female vocals, and it's a really cool layer over the top of the already pretty filthy, thrashy death metal. Fits really well in the Razorback catalog. And the last one I have tonight, I felt like I had to show this because it's the only band that I have from Cyprus. It's Solitary Sabrid with Redemption Through Force. Really great album cover. It's kind of this knight about to, Excalibur this witch really hard. It's really cool. It's out on No Remorse. It's pretty self-explanatory. Really cool little inside of a castle cavern fighting off hordes of evil. This is more of that epic metal style there's a weird filter on the vocals, and it just kind of has a really, really hefty, epic metal, 80s, 90s epic metal feel to it. It's really, really good, speedy, power metal-ish, good stuff. You don't see a lot of metal coming out of Cyprus. I mean, I didn't even know the country existed until I found this band, not gonna lie. So it's really cool. Felt like I should give them a shout out if you like your speedy, epic metal, Solitary Saber. And I'm cashed out now. It's everything.
All right. Alan.
Oh, last thing I had on the stack, just one last classic one character. King Crimson's in the Court of the Crimson King, straying outside of metal, but this has always been one of those metal adjacent bands that people love. The character literally takes up the entire cover. It's another one of those pictures that people love to dissect what all's going on there. Obviously, scared, paranoid. Something is obviously agitating the character, but what is it that they're looking to off the side? That's making them scream. It invokes that same kind of a little bit of the same color scheme and the same kind of impressions you get from the famous the Scream painting, also with the guy screaming and the red background and all. So another one that is very very zoomed in and focused on this character and the kind of sense of disquiet and paranoia. And I don't know, I've always kind of associated it with reports that early on King Crimson's music got very visceral negative reactions from audiences quite a lot of times, that they have always said they'd have people literally covering their ears, screaming, running out of whatever place they were playing, that they could not handle stuff like 21st century schizoid. At that time, people had no idea how to handle that kind of music. So maybe the cover is supposed to sort of play into that vibe, that it was really freaking people out. But a magnificent album nonetheless. I don't know their catalog well at all. I've heard a couple of albums here and there, but this one's a classic and a mainstay, and one last very cool character. And I promised one more Tior story. Backing up for 1 second. It's been a month or two ago, but somehow Tior came up on one of the Sea of Tranquility lunchtime live streams. They do those on, I don't know if is it just Fridays or a couple of days a week. I don't remember what the topic was. I happened to just I had YouTube on when I took my lunch break. What they were talking about sounded interesting. I think they were actually talking about early 70s proto metal stuff, like the Dust album you just showed, Tony. And somebody kind of mentioned Riot as sort of early metal-ish thing from the 70s, and people are talking about the Seal, and people making the same kind of comments like, I don't get that mascot, that seems so weird and such. And I just kind of typed out the kind of offhand funny comment, just like hey, don't make fun of the Seal. That Seal is the real deal, just for fun. But the goofy thing was Martin Popoff was interacting with the chat, and that comment seemed to confuse the hell out of him, because he started he's like, what do you mean by real deal? Do you think like the Seal's like an upright guy, like trustworthy? And he kept posting, he's like, do you mean the Seal's like honorable somehow? I'm not sure where you're going. Does it mean like the Seal is like dependable? And I'm just sitting there thinking,
wow.
I'm just like, dude, it's just meant to be fun. And just like, lol. You're going way too deep on this one, man. There's Seal, real deal. There's a funny rhyming thing there because people don't get the Seal, but hey, he took that one a tad too literally, and there we were. It's just like, I'm just not going to post anything else in the chat. I'll just sit back and listen to y'all talk about some cool early 70s stuff for now. So yes, well, on that very awkward exchange with Martin, who of course has tons of good insights on all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
We will go ahead and end it there. Thanks to Tony for joining us. Very fun topic. We've had a lot of fun goofing off tonight.
Yeah, it's been a good one. Thank you guys so much. I was so hyped when Marty called me randomly in the middle of the night, like a month ago, about being on the show. I felt like I was getting asked on the like heavy metal Oprah or something like that. Great.
Before we jump totally, I do want to extend a happy birthday to our friend Eric Bauer in the chat.
Yep.
High Defamation TV. Cheers, brother. I hope you had a good night and having a good having a good birthday. You sexy old bastard.
Do something fun. Spoil yourself.
That's right. Take care of yourself for sure. And Tony,
Yes.
it was great to have you on, and it was a lot of fun. And anytime we'll get you back on here when you have another free Friday one of these days.
Absolutely.
And then we'll pick a little deeper topic next time so we can actually maybe do a little homework centered around it. But the way things been so busy lately, it's kind of flying by the seat of the pants at this moment. Alan's busy wrapping up school. I'm packing pre-orders. It's just the way it goes.
Yep. Yes. We just so folks know, we will have Eric on in the near future too. We've been talking to him about a topic we've got in mind for him. We just haven't found the right Friday to line up with guests yet, but Eric will be back on in the very near future too. Hopefully in the coming month.
Some show before we do that, Tony, what do you have coming up for yourself on the channel?
So I just started going through my entire metal CD collection, and I went from one video a week to every Tuesday and Friday. Slowly making my way through probably about 30 CDs at a time. So it's going to take several weeks, several months. So I pretty much doubled my production value on all this stuff. That's the main thing I got going on. I don't have any real live streams planned out quite yet. I talked about doing a deep dive of some thrash records with Brian Arkham and Steve from S&T Young.
Yep.
We'll work all that out eventually. Hopefully some other people. Just, fun stuff. Eli from Dark Hymns got me on his channel. I'd like to get him on mine. Do some kind of deep dive. He had me pick a sabotage deep dive that we did. So I'll have him pick something. Maybe we'll discuss. I don't know. I haven't really messaged him about it, but I'll make it happen. That's pretty much all I got going right now.
Right on. Do we want to do some show notes, Alan? I know I can tell you there's going to be a review Monday. I'm going to have to maybe shoot one this weekend. Wednesday, the album club will be discussing Blood Feast, Kill for Pleasure, and also the Faced Fate EP, since they run in the very similar style. And then Friday, we can talk about Friday.
Next Friday, we're talking to a couple of folks.
Next Friday is not Pat.
No,
Okay.
I think in 2 weeks we've got Pat from Ground Zero Salem coming for an interesting topic. We'll just say that the boys are back in town.
Yep.
I went there.
Right on. Well, we'll get it sorted out, and you all be the third or fourth to know. But yeah, that's it. Anybody have anything to add before we kill it?
Got to work on that tagline. It did not go over well.
I've got it.
That did not work Wednesday night. I hate to break
your heart. Make sure your metallurgy is heavy.
No. Just no.
I was sure that was it. I felt it. I felt it in my soul.
You gave it some conviction. I like your moxie, son, but no, we're not there yet.
I'm the only one around here trying with the tagline. Come on. No, Marty, no. Come on. It wasn't that bad.
The chat speaketh.
Yep. Okay. Well, screw it then. Everybody, cheers. We love you. Awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. It was a lot of fun. Sometimes these simple topics, they're just fun. They're easy. We get to talk about a bunch of records we don't normally talk about in our collection. So
exactly.
Yep,
Cool to pull
very
some
fun.
different things off the shelf.
Thank you, Tony, again for joining us, and we'll have you back on. And everybody go check out Life Eternal. The link is in the description. Mark Riddick shirts coming soon. I hope by next weekend. I hope I have them for you folks to look at, because they are going to be sick, super sick. But that's it. Cheers, everybody. Take care. We will see you next week.
How do I say Simon's proposed? It's supposed to be like, stay Randy, or is it like, stay Randy? Like getting the the purge
Listen,
being worked in.
if-
I don't know.
Make sure your metallurgy is heavy. If that's shot down, then I don't like the Randy one.
That sounds like, keep your whites their brightest or something. It's like a detergent ad, man. You can't go there.
Everybody, mom and dad are going to have their first fight online. Go to your rooms.
Well, hey, compromise. Keep your metallurgy Randy.
That's it right there.
That's open for discussion. We'll talk about that later. Everybody, cheers. See you later.